Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for your post-match therapy session. Probably the most needed therapy session in living memory. The commentator was saying this would have been our worst defeat. We've only lost 6-0 once. I forget when that was, but hey, was that against City on the Sari?
Against City, yeah. Against City, yeah.
Yeah. Was that worse? I don't know. To me, tonight feels worse. But maybe it's recency bias. Who the flip knows? Arsenal 5, Chelsea 0. I just said it to Dimitar before we went live. Connor will also join us very soon. We knew, or I at least, I tweeted this today. I said this to my girlfriend today. I couldn't remember the last time I felt this little optimism, this little hope of getting a result going into a game. But hey, at least we didn't all of a sudden win, and I look like a right mug to myself. At least we lost. Obviously, you get what I mean. But at least I don't look like a complete idiot to myself. But oh my days, how much worse can it get? 4 minutes in, already 1-0 down. Gilchrist can't defend. Petrovic, what is he doing? Turns into fucking Petr Cech after, but we've had no idea what to do about the first goal. We let Kai Havertz, of all people, score 2 goals. We let Ben White, of all people, score 2 goals, even if he didn't mean to score the second one. Flipping hell. And there was actually a period in this game at 1-0 in the second half where we kind of had them nervous a little bit. I don't know how and why, but we had chances. Cucurella could have shot, squared it off. Then Enzo couldn't shoot and rolled it next to the goal. Jackson literally has a one-on-one header. Instead, handballed it for some reason. Oh my days. Dimitar. Well, what can you even say? Like, I know I put on my thumbnail the title "Sack Poch now, please." I'm not sure if you even now maybe still don't agree with that. That may well be the case. For me, it's just I'm fully aware that there's a very big chance that even if you change the manager, nothing changes. I'm very aware of that, especially with today not having Cole Palmer. Like, who's good, right? No one. But the way we went about this, we were 2-0 down. We were getting destroyed, and he did nothing until we were 4-0 down. He just did nothing. It's the same shit every game. All of us were screaming. Badiashile is having a howler. Gilchrist was booked. Cucurella was booked. We all said it for the whole of the first half. What does he do? Nothing. Again, as always. Would it have changed anything? No, maybe not. But at least I would have felt some him trying to change something. But instead, he just waited until we were utterly destroyed. Because by then, it didn't matter who you bring on. And then he has the audacity. To me, that's the worst thing of the night. He has the audacity to bring Thiago Silva on at 5-0. Like, you might as well slap him in the face in front of the camera. What are you doing? Bringing Thiago Silva on at this scoreline, man. Like, the poor man. Show him some respect. Why didn't you start him in the first place then? Don't bring him on at 5-0. Oh,
yeah, is this how you treat the elderly?
Exactly. But Dimitar, what can you even say about this, man? Like,
I have very conflicted feelings about this, but overall, I think basically Poch sacked himself tonight. Or if he loses his job, I think it will be mainly because of this game, because it was absolutely unacceptable, and it basically bottled our chances to get any kind of Europe, because no one expected us to get anything from Arsenal anyway. But yeah, I think not playing Thiago Silva was unacceptable today. There was no reason to do that.
Exactly. I mean, we will get into the lineup in a second's time, because that was baffling in and of itself, I will say. But I don't know, man. Like you said it there, obviously bottled Europe. Like I said, I didn't expect a result going into this game. So if we lost this 2-0, 2-1, even 3-1, I would have been like, sure, I would have been annoyed. I would have been upset. I would have been sad at the fact that Chelsea lost, in particular to Arsenal. But in the grand scheme of things, I wouldn't have been that upset by it. Like, they are miles and miles better than us. We are now 30 points, by the way, behind Arsenal in the league. 30 points. Imagine that. Imagine telling any Chelsea fan that like 2 or 3 years ago. Mate, it's unbelievable.
Well, didn't we finish like 30 points behind them last year as well?
Probably. So that makes it back-to-back seasons, which makes the whole thing even more crazy, doesn't it? It makes it even more crazy. And I want to bring this one up here on screen. Because, I mean, even the kind of the picture that Chelsea turn up with, I'm like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to show me team unity here? Is this what you're doing with this picture? What the fuck? Fuck off. Like, piss off. What are you trying to show me here? Oh, well, we're all united. Oh, man, piss off. It's a disgrace. Honestly, it's a disgrace. What is your overriding feeling here? Is it like embarrassment? Is it humiliation? Is it...
I mean...
Like,
Of course
acceptance.
it is.
What is it?
Of course it is. You cannot. I mean, anything more than 3-0 is basically absolute embarrassment. Always. I mean, for me, if it's 4, 5, or 6, it doesn't matter if it's over 3-0 because it basically means that the opposing team did whatever the fuck they wanted and just at some point they decided to stop. Today, Arsenal didn't decide to stop. It's just they turned it on basically in the 65th minute. Because as you said, in the first half, we looked kind of okay and we made them nervous. That is a fact. But we were more, in every situation, we were more nervous. And in every single situation where we tried to play from out the back, when we tried to build up an attack from the center backs or from defensive midfield or from the left or right back, there was panic. There was so much panic and it was more than usual. I mean, we all know every time Badiashile gets the ball, we kind of shiver. All of us, the Chelsea fans, and sometimes you can even feel it. You can even feel it in the stadium if your commentator is loud enough. You can just hear the dead silence when he has the ball and he's just wondering where he should pass. But today it was awful. I mean, I've never seen so many misplaced passes. Really, I
It's
think
honestly shameful. The one thing I want to quickly say is, in the first half, yes, we had them on the ropes a little bit. There was a period, right? But let's not also lie to ourselves. The Arsenal could have also been 4-0 up.
Oh no! I mean, yeah, of course. And what I meant by that is, I meant we could have scored goals and we could have made a game out of it. I'm not saying we could have won, basically.
No,
but
I know.
the thing is,
to reiterate,
yeah,
like,
you are right.
because,
you are right.
Havertz
And
had 2 moments. Once he just didn't even shoot. The other time, Petrovic made an absolute worldy save, and they had other moments where they really could have done something.
Yeah,
but unfortunately,
the thing is, for me, we had some sort of a setup, but this setup was active only between the 15th and the 40th minute. The first 15 minutes, we were absolutely shambolic. They did not know where the fuck they were. Then after the 15th minute, they kind of got it together. They started passing the ball very slowly at the back. We got some momentum. And at one point, I think we had 67% of possession in the first half, which was okay, I guess. But we didn't do anything with it. We squandered so many chances. We showed the lack of maturity we see almost every game in the final third. And I don't know. This game was basically our entire season. We show glimpses of what we could do, and then we just show what we really are, which is basically not good enough.
Exactly that. Oh no, that is terrible. I've just I was about to add Connor. He has told me he got destroyed at football last night, like Chelsea did tonight. So he's not going to turn his camera on tonight. Absolutely fair play, Connor. Thank you for joining me, regardless, especially on these nights. I always appreciate you boys for joining me because my days, it's a rough one. It's a flipping rough one, Connor. 5-0, like I put in the title, humiliated, embarrassed, destroyed. Any other adjectives you can find?
I think you've hit it all on the head, mate, honestly. Toothless. It could be another one. It was just poor, wasn't it? It was just, I don't even know how to go into it. The first half wasn't even as bad as, like, it still wasn't good at all, and we still could have been 2 or 3 down, but the first half at least had a few moments, whereas in that second half it just went to absolute pot. Everybody just looked lost. It just looked like everybody was going into hiding at one point. Like, I thought it was going to get way worse than 5-0, honestly. When it hit that, I was worried because
it felt like they felt bad for us by the end, honestly.
Yeah, actually they didn't. Petrovic saved us.
Yeah,
also true.
Actually,
I feel like they could have tried harder if they wanted to.
Yeah, but that's
that one. But my days, boys, are you ready for a couple of tweets that have come out? There are a couple of stats and one little different one. We'll get to that one last. The first one, I'll bring up this tweet here by Nizar Kinsella. That was Chelsea's heaviest London derby defeat since 1986. It's also Arsenal's biggest win over Chelsea ever. Like, literally ever in all comps. Like, my God, brilliant. But then a certain Miss Silver has resurfaced today. She made sure she didn't speak as much, but she made sure she got all the monkeys out there. My days. Honestly, Belle, don't hold your mouth. Just speak your truth. Speak your truth, Miss Silver. Speak it. For all I care, anyway. But yeah, I mean, we'll get to the lineup there. Dimitar mentioned it already before, but Connor, what on earth was Poch thinking by changing the centre-back partnership today? Like, the centre-back partnership was the best bit about us against City. I mean,
Yeah.
Thiago Silva, okay, at least he's old, but even that is ridiculous. But especially Chalobah. First of all, he was our best player last game. But like, why would you change him? Like, that in and of itself, not only did we miss Palmer, which obviously I guess that's not Poch's fault, but why would you change the back two to a back two? The last time they played together were absolutely awful. How do you come up with the idea to play them against one of the best teams in the league? Like, please, Connor, tell me, do you see any sense in it?
Not really. I mean, I did say before the game that I was actually quite happy with the lineup, but I think that was more so. Firstly, I was more so talking about the wingers when I first said it. I was thinking like I was happy with the top end of the pitch, and then towards the back end, I was more so expecting like Silva. I expected him to not start, so I was almost in my head that was almost out of the picture. The one that I was disappointed with, like you said, was Chalobah. I think he should have definitely started, just even for continuity over everything. And I said before, I don't like Badiashile and Disasi as a pair. I just think they don't match each other whatsoever. They don't help each other out. If anything, they just highlight the other's weaknesses more than anything. And then Gilchrist as well, I was happy to see him in the lineup. But again, it's more so because we don't have a lot else. I didn't want Disasi at right back. Could have done Chalobah at right back, but for whatever reason, he didn't play. Gilchrist at least knows the occasion, and I thought he'd be up for the fight. And like I said,
if you're going to play Gilchrist, right? Surely you have to play him next to Thiago Silva. Like, surely that would be the logical thing to do. You've got this 20-year-old kid. I know he's the same age as like Colwell and half of the rest of the team. I'm
rest
aware.
of them.
But even still, very inexperienced, right? His first Premier League start ever, this was. I know he started once or twice, but that was always in the Cup. That was his first Premier League start in his life, away at Arsenal. And you put him next to the clown show of Badiashile and Disasi. Like, sure, he looked bad on that first goal. And should he have done a bit better? Sure. But, like, to even put him into that position is like, I thought Poch was supposed to develop young players. It looks like he's destroying them. That's what it looks like to me. Oh, my days. It's a disgrace. I get what you mean, Connor, by the way, in terms of you were all right with the attack. I'll be honest. I already was surprised. Okay, maybe that food poisoning situation. But already against City, I thought, with the way things are now, I think you should play Sterling. Not every game, but sometimes. The fact that he's now not playing him at all is just, to me, weird, especially when you don't have Palmer. To, again, not play Sterling. I just don't really understand. I would have even tried something like, I don't know, putting Mudryk on the right because you have a centre-back behind him. So, therefore, he doesn't cut inside. You let him stay wide and you let him just use his pace. You play one over the top ball after the other and try for him to cross. I know Jackson's our striker who's scared of heading the ball and uses his hands instead, but that's a separate issue. But, like you could have tried something. I have problems with Mudryk over the penalty stuff and how he started even the last game. But it just seems so uninventional. And like we all know Enzo's playing with pain. We all know that he's struggling. We knew that we're playing a team that's better at us physically, on the ball, and in every other metric. This is, in my opinion, not the kind of game where you want Enzo. Use Enzo when you play a deep block. Then even an injured Enzo can have certain usefulness, right? In terms of his creativity, certain passes that can unlock a defense. Not necessarily the decisive assist, but the pass that helps build the goal. But in a game like today, why? Like, where is Carnage Chukwuemeka? Like, is he dead? Is he a walking corpse? I don't know. Like, it's just, where is he? The whole thing is just, I mean, the fact that Palmer is ill, out of all days that he's ill today. He could have been ill any other day. But I mean, Dimitar, to go bigger into the lineup, what did you make of it? Especially when Connor said like he didn't hate it too much in especially the attacking area.
I was very surprised. I mean, the thing is, most of the lineups under Poch surprised me in general, but this one was shocking for me because, like you guys pointed out, and I'm sure like you said in the stream after the Man City game, the defense actually worked. We very much limited Man City to almost nothing up until the 65th, 70th minute. So that was a very big surprise for me. And also, when I saw the lineup, I maybe didn't understood how that would affect us. But during the game, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the fact that we had Gilchrist on the right and the fact that he was scared of crossing the ball meant that the only way our attack went onto the right-hand side is with Madueke either directly trying to shoot or losing the ball or crossing on his right foot. And he didn't have a right foot. So basically, this formation automatically killed the build-up on our right. We normally have no build-up on the left. So we started the game basically like cutting both our feet off, if I can say it. It was insane. And after the first 15 minutes, I thought this was going to be a 6-7-0. Then we played better. Then I thought, okay, maybe we can scrape a draw. But everything we have done up until this point, this season showed. We can't score goals. We can't score scrappy goals. We can't score well-made goals. We can't score any goals when we need them. In the 6-0 against Everton, everyone wants to take a penalty. Every shot goes in. Everything's happy. But then when it counts against Man City and against Arsenal, it doesn't happen. And I think basically these two games are sadly the best expression of our season. And I think Poch is basically a goner now. Maybe they leave him until the end of the season, but I don't see any way how they keep him next season, because I've seen this happen a lot in the Bulgarian league. If there's a manager who the fans hate and who is on the ropes constantly, keeping him in the summer means that the second he loses 2 games next season in a row, he's sacked. And that usually happens 5th or 6th match day. So
exactly.
You have a new manager by the middle of September.
We have a whole season where we use the excuse the manager didn't have preseason. So just give him preseason. Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean, the thing is, I'm pretty sure that this is what is going to happen. If they leave him for next season, the second we lose 2 games in a row, he's gone.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So if that's what's going to happen anyway, you might as well bring a new manager in and let that manager have preseason. But I am also fully aware that the new manager, first of all, which managers are we going to get? I mean, Amorim apparently is going to West Ham, but he seems to maybe not be going to Liverpool either. So I guess there's a chance there. But he has his own problems. Like, we've discussed this with Connor at length. Like, there's
I think the manager is also generally irrelevant. But the thing with Poch is that the situation is so bad that basically I don't see how he can turn it around at this point. Even if the team starts playing better, even if we start scoring more goals, and even if we get better defensively, the second he loses 2 games in a row next season, everyone's going to be on his head, and they would probably sack him the same illogical way they sacked Tuchel, because no one was expecting that when they did that 2 years ago now.
Exactly.
And I can see that happening again.
Because isn't it weird? I mean, unless you disagree, but I felt today, yesterday and today, if you went on Twitter and within Chelsea FT, right? I think everyone had almost come to the point of acceptance. Okay, Poch is just going to be here next season. We're just going to have to accept it. It's better for all our mental health if we just deal with it rather than still hoping that he gets sacked. But now everything's changed. Connor, I'll get to you. I wanna point out something which I felt was very different compared to when we played City. I felt Arteta and Arsenal did something very smart. As soon as they took the lead, they let us have the ball because they know 2 things. First of all, we are not dangerous when we have to build up. We are only dangerous when we counter. And also, we are much more susceptible to getting countered ourselves. So by them letting us have the ball, they could counter us like they scored half of their goals today. And they also knew the likelihood of us creating much was very slim because our biggest threat is, high counter press, win the ball up high, and then break with pace and see if we can get a goal that way. But if they let us have the ball, neither of those things can happen. We can't sit deep and defend like we do against City, where we clearly did a decent enough job on 3 occasions. Well, no, not 3 occasions, because once we conceded 4 goals. But on 2 occasions, at the Etihad and even at Wembley, obviously, we held on fairly long. We can do that when we have to. But what we can't do is have the ball, try to attack, chase a lead, and then defend against a team that actually knows how to counterattack. And that's how they killed us today. Is that how you feel it? You see it as well, Colin? Do you think that was... Because I felt as soon as they scored, I felt, they're being smart here. They're just letting us have the ball because that's how they're going to kill us. Did you feel that too? Or maybe it's just me?
Yeah. No, I did. Because, first of all, that goal, their first goal, coming so early completely changes. Like, it blows the game wide open. That was just an awful time for us to concede. It blows the game completely. Like, the game plan would have been, if we'd have settled into that game, it would have been similar to City. But like you say, as soon as they get that goal, they drop deeper. And this is where the team starts to... This is where it really shows how we're in transition state in terms of half the team suited to one way and half the team still suited to another way. But you're still trying to play transitional, vertical football. So, like, there was points in the game where Enzo, even though in a different system where he would have actually been able to keep the ball, the instruction he's got is to go direct. And the amount of times he was actually very poor. I will actually, as much as I like him, I think he's poor.
Honestly, they were all poor.
Exactly, yeah. But there was a lot of misplaced long balls. But a lot of the time, I think it's because he was trying to do the instruction, which was to go vertical at all times. They'd already dropped off 10, 15 yards, and they were giving us the space. By the time we then pushed up, both our fullbacks were out of position, and they were just able, like you said, to pick us off on the counter. And there was just too many mistakes again in terms of defensively on those, like in those recovery positions. Again, we're not made for it yet. The team's so imbalanced in the sense of Pochettino's got half the team that would suit his way, and the rest of the team is suited towards what the owners want this team to be in the next year or two. But we're in such a awkward state right now that you've got a weird blend of everything, and it just doesn't work. And it's not consistent. It's not sustainable. I tweeted this the other day. If Poch, as much as I don't want to like get on Poch too much, and as much as I actually believe if Poch stays next season, it's not the end of the world if it means that we're still planning to get somebody else long term. But I do think that this team needs to be taken in one direction, and it isn't away from the Pochettino unsustainable style of football, and it is in more to the controlling realm, which we've actually got players to do with the likes of Enzo and Caicedo. We've already invested that money into that type of player, so that has to be the route that we go down. And we eventually have to start picking off these players that suit the transition style of play, and we have to start moving them out, because otherwise we have this weird blended squad that just doesn't mix.
But then the problem is, if the next manager is very different again, then you have the same problem all over again. I mean, someone put it there in the chat, which is obviously slightly blowing it out of proportion. But where is it now?
But also, does the coach even have control over transfers? I mean, they can bring in Guardiola if they want.
He doesn't want Thiago Silva to leave. He doesn't want Chalobah to leave. You know what I mean? Both are leaving. He doesn't want Gallagher to leave. He will leave. Do you know what I mean? Like, he has no control whatsoever.
Even in buying players, like, didn't Pochettino find out about Palmer being announced in a press conference? I mean, like, the journalists told him that Palmer was announced, I believe, in the beginning of the season. So
yeah, no, he definitely didn't have control last season. I think he would have a bit more input now, because obviously now he's like seen, okay, now I know what I need or whatever, now that I've been here, which I always see as a problem. This is why, going back to over a year from now, this is why I said when we sacked Potter, when we sacked him, we needed to bring in Poch or whoever the replacement was immediately. So that it wasn't Lampard sitting around dealing with a team that was wanting to leave anyway, and the rest of the team, even that was staying, knew, well, this guy isn't going to be here, so what's the point in trying? But also, that guy would have had 6 weeks' time to look at the squad and see what he needs. The way it was, he came in pre-season, half the players joined late, the other half was injured, the rest of the team got injured as we went on. But this comment here by Football XE says Prime Madrid cost 900 million. Well, God knows the currency, but 900 million. Todd Bowley's project cost 1 billion. You'll never guess the more expensive team can't even score a tap in. Now, obviously, you have to consider that we had 500 million pounds injured or unavailable today, plus Reece James and Levi Colwell. So, put that on top of it. But it is crazy. Like, how you can spend this much money and be this bad?
I mean, it's very easy, actually.
Mind-blowing.
I mean, it's very easy if you get a random person off the street and tell them to spend 1 billion on a football team. This is what you get. And basically, Todd Bowley is just a random person with a checkbook. He has no knowledge about football.
If you ask a random person on the street, you'd probably come to a better conclusion than these lot have come to.
I mean, okay, a random person on the street in America, when you tell him to spend £1 billion on soccer, then this is what you get. I mean,
yeah, no, it's true. That is true. Another thing was for me that on the point that we were talking about, Connor, in terms of that they let us have the ball. I feel another problem with that is that we had the ball, and we were obviously, because they took the lead early, the impetus to do something was kind of put on us. But you could still see that we were scared and wary of them, which in a way you understand, and in a way should kind of help because you don't overcommit. But the problem that leads to is that you then try to break a team down without actually bringing enough men forward, which in a way, inadvertently, all that really did was create huge gaps between our players. Like the gaps between the fullbacks and the wingers was ginormous. The Enzo was fully on the left or all the way up with Gallagher anyway. Caicedo was all the way back on the right with Gilchrist, and there was just no one in the middle. And Arsenal could just do whatever the flip they wanted. But let's get into these player ratings. Obviously, you boys, if you have any other tactical inputs, please just tell me.
I just want to say something. As bad as we were, we could have scored goals. And this is what makes me the most mad. Because we could have scored at least 1 or 2 goals in the end of the first half. And that would not have been undeserved. I mean,
no.
Even if you say they allowed us to control the ball, they gave us space or whatever, we created some scrappy chances, which were chances. And we could have scored at least 1 goal. And that's what I hate the most. Knowing when you could have done something, but the players just completely bottle every possible situation.
Sorry, I thought you were still speaking. My bad.
Oh, yeah.
So I plug my computer in, right? But then it's also on Wi-Fi, and then when I turn the Wi-Fi off, then it takes a second. My apologies. But yeah, no, I do agree with you, right? I do want to get to the super chat in a second as well. Then we get to Petrovic. Obviously, we could have scored in that first half, but I almost feel like even mentioning it feels almost a bit dishonest because, like I said earlier as well, they could have still scored 4 goals.
No. We were never winning the game, but if we had scored 1 or 2 goals in the first half, the game complexion completely changes. And then
100%.
you make them fight. You make Arsenal fight and show a bit of passion to win the game. Now, we made it so easy for them that they could have probably played with blindfolds on and still they could have scored a couple of goals.
100%. I mean, and the next thing is, Jackson could, in my opinion, should have been sent off super early.
Oh, yeah.
You could argue
disgusting tackle.
Maybe that would have helped us because if we go down to 10, they probably don't actually give us the ball. So we can just park the bus for the rest of the game and maybe only concede 3 instead of 5. But, I mean, Dan, the man here with the super chat, appreciate it very much. He says, who can replace Jackson off the bench? Well, no one. We have David Washington, who's, well, no one knows if he's good or not, but he's always in the bench. That's brilliant. But, of course, not that Broja is any good, but we had one other striker and we loaned him out. 2 alone where he's never playing anyway. So you might as well have kept him, given him game time, and would have increased his value more that way than the way you did it. But of course, everything we do in a transfer market, other than signing Declan Rice, I wish, Cole Palmer, seems to not work out. And I know, especially Connor is very much adamant and a defender of a lot of these players that we have signed are fantastic players. And I don't even want to disagree with that. It's more a case of the combination of the lot of them. I'm not sure if it will ever work. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. And I think anybody that claims it definitely will is lying to themselves at this point because we've just not seen anything that really gives us proof or evidence that it will ever long-term work out. I mean, hey, I know, Connor, you see that slightly differently, and I hope you're right, bro. I hope you're right. But
the only reason I'd say it differently, the only reason I'd say is that I think like you said earlier, we've given Poch almost the control. I don't think that's ever going to happen because I think even the owners, and again, this is my perspective. I hope I'm right. I'm giving them too much credit, but the way that they've built this team now, it never suited Poch in the first place. So the only way I can comprehend it in my head is that Poch was never the main guy that they were building this team for. This team is still being molded for a different manager. Poch is just in there to almost develop the team as much as he possibly can right now, which again could actually be hurting certain players because they're playing the football they're not actually meant to be playing. But this team is still, next season or in 2025, this team is still going to be built towards a manager past Poch. So I don't think even if we get to this summer and Poch is somehow still in the job, I still don't think that he gets control over the transfers because
he will not.
That's what I mean, because I think this team is still being built away from Poch, whether he's here or not. I don't think the plan ever will be to stick with him because I think he was a 2-year coach to do the middle ground of this project quotation marks, because again, I understand that people are annoyed with it and I understand that the direction's not sustainable and whatnot, but
I hear that logic, absolutely. My question is just, have they made a big error by thinking or making a mistake in judging about where we would be by the end of the first, let alone the second year of Poch, and then the situation of that no manager will want to come anymore? Now, sure, in getting a new manager, it will actually be somewhat helpful to not sack Poch, because the next manager you can then show, see, even when it goes badly, we can give time, unless it goes real bad. They can use that almost like, see, we don't always sack everyone straight away. Like, and that's kind of what they need, because who in their right mind, especially which kind of project manager, like Jose doesn't matter to, Tuchel it doesn't matter to, but a project manager like a De Zerbi or, God knows who else you could think of, whether it's Amorim, bloody Thiago Motta, Xavi, like God knows who else could be considered, right? Why would any of them, like, they know it's a project. They're like, well, you've sacked everyone before they could finish their project. So why on earth wouldn't you do that to me? Because these managers aren't idiots. They know with the position that our squad is in, the position that the club is in, this isn't an easy fix. This isn't like, okay, sign 2 players and the someone will be all right. Have a good preseason and we'll be all right. No, when you sign players that are all between the age of 19 and 22, it won't take a season. It won't take 2 seasons. It will probably take 4 or 5, because not only do they need to grow older, they also don't have anyone to look up to. So therefore, their whole developing process, in my opinion, is slower than it would have been had they have players to look up to lead them, to guide them, right? So the whole process is, not only does it take a while in the first place, but the way we go about it, it will take even longer, in my opinion, anyway. But
no, yeah, that is bang on.
Can I just also say something? I mean, I know a lot of people speak about this. Oh, we got this generational talent. We got this midfielder and he's proven quality and blah, blah, blah. I mean, these are players who are basically, all of our signings are under 23, if not under 22. And I am sorry, but the player you are at 21 is nothing like the player you are at 27. You can look at all of the big name players. You can look at all of the bright young talents. They develop, they change, they adapt, and they improve. I mean, 100%. Even if Caicedo last year was the best CDM in the Premier League, this is a 20-year-old playing for Brighton. This is not a title-winning team last year. I mean, even though Brighton played very nice football, which everyone likes, this is not a benchmark for success. And also Enzo. And Enzo played like 17 games for Benfica in Europe, and we signed him. Like, where is this? He's a proven talent. Where have we seen that?
That we were already in a position last year that if we wait, we don't get those players. If we let those players develop into something better, we are not a good enough team anymore to get them. So that's why either you sign them early or you don't sign them at all.
This logic, I understand it, but it's completely idiotic. No, if anyone truly believes that, I mean, if footballing people truly believe that it works like that,
I'd make is, you see Enzo and Caicedo and Des, they have their issues all themselves. But then you look at the other kind of signings they've made where we haven't gone out for the very best talents, but for just some talents.
Yeah.
Badiashile, Jackson, even though don't have the biggest problem with Jackson, but even still, Jackson, Mudryk, Mudryk, all of Gusto is an exception, to be fair, because he's actually good. Even you, Dimit, I think he's been slightly won over by him over the season, right?
Yeah, I mean, attacking-wise, he's perfect. I can't fault him attacking-wise, yeah.
But you look at, okay, you have Enzo and Caicedo, who are the super huge money signings, but then you look at all the other ones, and also the less expensive ones haven't worked out either. And arguably, in comparison to Badiashile, in comparison to Mudryk, Caicedo has been amazing. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, maybe more money does get you more, just not when they're young.
I understand that logic, but if we look at every fee we paid, for example, Gusto, Jackson, and Palmer are basically the best value for money we got. And then maybe Petrovic, if we consider he can still improve a little bit. Yeah. Everything else is absolutely awful. And that includes the 70 million or whatever it was for Mudryk, the money for Cucurella, the money for Fofana, the money for Enzo, for Caicedo. These signings of under 21s almost never work out. If you just open transfer market and look, the biggest transfers of under 23 players in the last decade, almost all of them fail. Like, basically, Bellingham and Mbappe are the only ones who didn't fail. Every other big money signing failed. João Felix to Barca, to Atletico, failed. Ousmane Dembele to Barca, failed.
Even
Coutinho to Barca failed.
When he was 15, even that failed.
Yeah, I mean, even us buying Havertz at the end failed. Because we spent 72 million on a 20-year-old who was a generational talent, but had actually no defined set of skills. So, I mean, you can buy one such player and maybe take a risk, but buying 3 of them, it doesn't work like that. And nope. I'm sorry also, again, for mentioning Enzo and Caicedo. I don't hate them, but we bought Caicedo of one season he played next to McAllister. We bought Enzo of one World Cup he played next to McAllister. And McAllister is having a phenomenal season at Liverpool. And these two are absolutely awful. Just saying, just putting that out there. If anyone wants to make some kind of connection in his mind, okay. I mean,
did McAllister even play every game? I can't remember.
He played a lot after the World Cup for sure.
But most games, didn't he? Flipping hell. It's and what I keep saying is, you have these midfielders, you just keep Jorginho there, you just keep Kante there. I know Kante's wages were crazy, and obviously his contract ran out, so you couldn't really do anything about it, especially with the injuries. But as proven in Saudi Arabia, he's fine there. Pulisic.
I mean, also Kovacic, he's not terrible for City. Even keeping Kovacic would have been better than watching this every game, because we have no options. The original plan for this season was Enzo, Caicedo, and Lavia. We were going to sell Gallagher and then have Chukwuemeka as a backup. So even if everyone was fit, we would still be seeing Enzo and Caicedo every single game, because they were the two midfielders we were going to have when we sell Gallagher. So,
well, I think I don't think the Poch ever wants to play with a midfield three. So therefore, I think the plan was for Nkunku to be somewhere in the front line. And then
I mean the defensive midfielders. But
no, I agree. Connor, before we get into ratings, then, do you have any counterpoints to what Dimitar has spoken about, or do you agree with most of it? Where do you stand on what Dimitar is saying?
I think just overall with with everything that has just been said in the last 15 minutes, I agree. I think the short term and mid term of this has been very poorly managed, and I think it was almost a case of hitting the blow up button without really thinking about the consequences of it early.
Exactly.
We got rid of so much experience that could have helped nurture the youth. But I also think that a lot of people don't actually always take into account that we've been sleepwalking towards this rebuild for about 10 years. This has been coming. We've been papering over things with cracks. We have. So as much as I think this could have been done better, and I think that it could have been done in a more in a safer way to protect the short term, I still think the long term ambition is somewhat correct. But I'm worried about the journey to get there, if that makes sense. But I don't disagree with the experience, the lack of experience and the mismanagement early doors, like I said. But but yeah, it's a case of how quickly it will.
Absolutely. And we've got a couple of quotes from Poch. He says, the team showed the lack of capacity to resist. That's what the problem is. And then he also says, Silva and Chalobah needed to rest. Sorry. So Enzo with a broken groin, he doesn't need to rest. Who needs pain injections before every game he plays, he doesn't need to rest. Caicedo, who plays every single minute of every single game, he doesn't need to rest. But 24-year-old centre-back Chalobah, okay, he was injured for a long time, to be fair. But he's played a lot recently. He's a centre-back. He needed to rest. Thiago Silva, who you haven't used for weeks, needed to rest. I don't think so, mate. I don't know who you're trying to kid here. No, Thiago Silva hadn't played in weeks. He didn't need to rest. He played every 3 days until Christmas as well. So now he's supposedly all of a sudden not capable of that? Did he all of a sudden fall into fucking, I don't know, some age potion that he's now can't fucking... Before Christmas he could play every 3 days. Now he can't. No. Mate, who are you lying to? Stop lying to us, man, dickhead. Stupid Spurs twat. I mean, sorry, I'm getting annoyed again. Let's get into this player, shall we? Petrovic. I keep it short and sweet. I think in the grand scheme of things, he might end up being one of the highest rated players in the end because...
No, he will be.
Yeah, absolutely. Because obviously the first goal to concede was an absolute howler. You should never concede a near post like that. It should never happen. But he still made 6 saves. Even though he conceded 5 goals, he still made 6 saves. And 2 or 3 of them were really strong saves.
Yeah.
Even the passing
Even that ricochet from Disasi, from point blank, that was an amazing save. If you remember.
Do you think, I know what you mean, but do you not think it kind of just hit him?
I think he kind of moved in that direction and maybe it hit him, but still that could have gone in my opinion.
No, absolutely. It absolutely could have done. I'll give Petrovic, he still conceded 5 goals, even if most of them he couldn't do anything about, so I can't give him higher than this, but I'm still giving him a 6. Dimitar, what would you give him?
I was thinking along the lines of 5, but yeah, I'm gonna say a 5. Like the first goal, I got very pissed off at that because I hate when goalkeepers concede not only on the near post but between their legs.
Yeah,
I mean, you should always have your legs closed. To be fair to him, in the second half, he made a save where he closed his legs on the near post. So maybe he learned, or maybe he talked to someone at halftime, or maybe he knows it was just like so early in the game he was like not in it. But this lapse of concentration was basically what doomed us. Not that we were gonna win anyway, but yeah. So that's why it's a 5 from me, and yeah. He's not that bad, but we should be looking for some actual competition for him because I think he could stay and be a backup, but he needs competition if we're going to go anywhere next season.
I agree. Although I would say I think watch the first goal back again because maybe I need to watch it back again. But what I thought is that the ball went in between his right foot and the post, and that because he tried to close his legs. That's why he almost opened the gap for the ball to go in between his leg and the right post.
I think I saw it go between his legs, but maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know. Yeah. I saw it only once or twice, but it pissed me off for sure.
Well. It may well be the case, but yeah, I thought it was between the post and his leg, which almost like I say, by trying to close his legs, almost made it a bit easier to happen. But there you go. Connor, a 5 and a 6 for Petrovic. What would you give him?
Yeah, I'd probably go over 5 just because I think when you concede 5 goals, as much as I think he actually kept us in it at times, like kept us in it with quotation marks, kept us from having a cricket score. Yeah. He did make some really good saves in that sense, but I think that first goal was on him. That's not great from him, and that obviously changed the game state and the game plan. Like I said, that first goal meant a lot. And then from there, he did make some great saves, but I think you then have to take into account that you've conceded 5. So in that case, I'd probably just go with a 5. I think that's just the fairest way of going with it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. Maybe I've gone ever so slightly high, but there you go. Leaves us at a 5.5 regardless. Let's go to Badiashile. I'll keep that one quick and simple. And looking at the stats, maybe this is even harsh, but the eye test tells me it's the clearest 0 I'll ever see. Now, again, stats, 94 of 104 passes. It felt like he completed barely 3. Tackles, okay, 1 out of 2, ground duels, 2 out of 3, aerials, 2 out of 4. None of that sounds horrifically bad, but he nearly gave a penalty away 30 seconds into the game.
Oh my God.
Havertz was offside. Obviously, he wasn't to do with the goal that we conceded, but the amount of times he gave the ball away and Arsenal just let us off by not taking those chances was out of this world bad. Like, out of this world bad. Like, honestly, it's I don't know what, like, yes, he actually has good passing, and I know that sometimes the reason he gives the ball away is because he tries the risky passes. But, bro, he kept doing it at 2-0 down, at 3-0 down. It's like he doesn't have a brain. It's like he's told pass, risky.
Are these passes risky, or is he just too slow to make them?
Well, whichever way you want to look at it, but he's still trying passes that he shouldn't be trying at the end of the day. And that's just bad. Sure, could I give 1 instead of 0? Sure, I could. But we conceded 5 goals, and I think the defense was way more at fault than Petrovic in the grand scheme of things. So I'm going to give a 0. I have 2 people that are more level-headed than me here, so I can go all out with them. And these boys will bring me back to reality. At least Connor, maybe Dimitar won't always say it. But there you go. Because Joel is right. He was awful, but he had the most pass interceptions and tackles. I don't know if interceptions and tackles. I'm not sure if you...
because all of his teammates also kept messing up passes, so there were a lot of interceptions because we were giving up the ball in the most dangerous zones constantly. I mean, it's normal that we also have interceptions because their attacks were scrappy. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Especially in the first half, Arsenal weren't amazing either. Like
it was like a match of pinball, basically.
Literally. Would you also give him a 0, David? Or would you give?
Oh yeah, of course. Because I had my commentator really loud in the first 20 minutes for some reason. I don't know why. I was just too lazy to get it down. You could hear the crowd change their tone where Badiashile got the ball. I mean, the Arsenal crowd were excited whenever he got the ball. And I mean this sincerely, he was awful. This is probably the most panic and shaky performance I have ever seen. It was like he was not 23 or 24. It was like he was 14. I mean, I don't know where this came from. It's like it was his first game for Chelsea. Every single pass, he was slow. He was not sure where he's supposed to pass, and he kept giving awful passes to his teammates. Like, I have no explanation for this. Seriously.
Same.
I mean, I know he's not John Terry, but this was the worst performance he has ever made for Chelsea. I don't think there's a question in that.
No, I don't disagree, mate. I don't disagree. Connor, would you be harsh enough to dish out at 0, or are you keeping some level-headedness and that somehow leads you to giving him like a little higher than that?
I find it very hard to give 0, as I said this last time when we did the player ratings as well. I think I'd probably give a 1, like just to not be a 0. But I'm in agreement with pretty much everything you've said about his performance in terms of the main thing for me with this defense, and especially when it comes to fruition when we play how we did today, and the defense and the midfielders and like the Arsenal team back off us, is that these players they're the ones that have the onus to pick the passes between the lines, and if they don't, then we get stuck. And I think teams are coming to the conclusion that they're absolutely fine with Badiashile and Disasi being able to circulate the ball because they're not dangerous enough. They lack composure. They give away silly mistakes, and they actually give other teams more opportunities to score goals from their mistakes. Badiashile not looked anything like what he did last season in terms of composure, whether that's to do with who's got next to him all the time, because I don't think it works with Disasi. Nope. But he's just not looked the same since he's come back. And I think without a Colwill in defence, I think we look massively suspect, and teams are cottoning on to the fact that you can allow our backline to have the ball because they aren't technically matched to the midfield in terms of the ability they've got to circulate. So Enzo and Caicedo are ahead as much as people are. And again, they didn't play well today either. They played poorly as well, but those two things don't link up very well at all at the minute, unless you've got all of the personnel that you need, the Gusto and the Colwill, for example, who are more technically, and obviously Reece, who are more technically secure, whereas these guys, they've just not looked at it at all, and they put us in more worrying situations than good when we're trying to circulate possession.
Do you feel that, obviously, exactly like you say, the data circulates, and this has been a problem that we've had ever since David Luiz has left, really, that the centre-backs only ever circulate the ball or try to break 1 or 2 lines on the ground, right? But if you took a centre-back and every now and again try to, like, not punt it, but, like, play a good long ball to, like, a winger or a striker making a run, if that is a serious weapon, like it was for David Luiz, they don't just let them. They will close them down. And if they get closed down, that means the midfielders have more space. But because we never even look at that, exactly like you said, why bother trying to press them? They will give the ball away without getting pressed.
Yeah.
They will eventually pass it to the opponent anyway. So, I mean, did you see that at all, Connor, in terms of, like, try the centre-backs playing a long ball, or are neither of them simply good enough to even attempt that?
Yeah, I don't think they've got the technical ability, honestly. I think that's where you miss Colwill. And I also just think that as much as I don't even mind these attackers, like Jackson, he's started dropping in more and more and more as the season goes on to pick up the ball, which he does very well and drive us forward. But I think we've also got an issue in terms of our front line. We don't pin teams back. So like you said, we don't really have a forward that is pinning the other team's defence all the way back and giving the midfield extra space to work with. So it just ends up like coming all the way back down the lines, and it just ends up being stuck at the defensive line when you've got Badiashile and Disasi on the ball. So I think, like if you have a Colwill, at least he's putting those balls over the top, and they're so precise that he's at least forcing Mudryk to stretch the pitch, and then that is giving the midfield extra space, and that is opening the pitch up. But with Badiashile and Disasi, like you said, like the most they'll ever really try is to split the line between Enzo and Caicedo, and usually the pass isn't good enough, and it just comes back at us. So yeah,
there you go. Fair enough. I mean, I do think Badiashile has decent passing, at least when I look at his, Disasi seems like Zuma when he's trying to pass. You can just look at him and see he's not a good passer. I think Badiashile looks like he is a good passer. Maybe he's not, but the way he passes the ball is good passing technique in there for me. Again, people may disagree with that. Absolutely fair enough. But but to be fair, I'm not sure if I've ever seen him try a long one. So, kind of tells you everything you need to know. We get to Disasi. He had 99% passing accuracy. Brilliant. 72 out of 73. Fantastic job, mate. 3 out of 3 ground duels, 1 out of 1 aerial duel. Brilliant. So basically, you get to 10 because, 1 out of 1 successful dribbles, 99%. I mean, you can't really do much better.
I mean, yeah. It was a complete defensive masterclass, yeah.
What do I give him? I give him a 1 because I felt he was a little bit less of a liability than Badiashile, but it was very close. I mean, I'll go with Connor first now. You gave Badiashile a 1 already. Would you give Disasi a little higher, or will you just give him the same?
I probably would have given him the same, to be honest, but I'm not too annoyed about Disasi getting a slightly higher. I would have given him both 1s, but if it ends up that Disasi's a 0.5 higher, then that's fine with me as well, because I think they were just both poor. I was defensively, like, it speaks for itself in my opinion, but I was more so like I said already about Badiashile, it's just the same thing. I just think this defensive line, it hurts us too much in possession, and I think that when we're playing such attacking, such transitional football, we're putting so much emphasis on these defenders having to defend transition and having less protection in front of them. So you're just opening them up to their weaknesses. They're not being able to control the game, and it's just becoming 1v1 defense. And I just don't think any of them had good enough games in that sense either. So yeah, it's quite simple with the back line, really.
No, it is. Dimitar, would you give Disasi ever so slightly higher rating than Badiashile, or would you give him also?
I mean, for sure, they both were awful today, but at least Disasi did not make me shiver in my pants when he had the ball, because, like I said, Badiashile was awful in my opinion. Disasi, I kind of did not notice him a lot. He was just like there in most situations. He was like in and around the action, didn't do anything, didn't make a mistake, but also didn't try to rectify the mistake of anyone else. He also almost scored in a very weird situation in the middle of the first half.
When nearly Badiashile assisted him.
yeah, that was gonna be amazing. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the 1.
5-1.
Yeah. I'm also gonna go with the 1 because, like I said, I didn't notice him a lot. He was just like there in the mess every single time, in and around when we conceded goals. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, honestly, same. Because obviously, I mean, clearly he basically never gave the ball away because he probably always passed it to Caicedo, Badiashile, or Gilchrist.
And they gave the ball away.
But yeah, let's go on to Alfie Gilchrist. It's a tough one because I feel really bad for him. Like I say, first ever Premier League start, out of position. I know the position he's played for us all season, but still, for him, out of position. Against Arsenal, away, with the injuries that we've had. Like, not only the right back's missing, therefore Gilchrist filling in there, but no Thiago Silva next to him, no Colwell next to him, Chalobah would have been better. No Chalobah next to him, no Palmer in front for like an outlet to help. No. I don't know. It's just, but he didn't help himself, right? That first goal wasn't good defending. He got spun way too easily. But then again, am I surprised by a centre-back getting spun too easily by a winger in form? No. Then he got himself riled up by Trossard. Trossard celebrated a throw-in that he got annoyed by. Then he got himself booked a minute later, which in a way I back. Like, he should have just kicked him a bit harder with help. Like, it was almost not a hard enough tackle to be worth that yellow card. Like, if you're going to get that yellow card, proper chin him. Do you know what I mean? But, yeah. What can I say? Like, I want to be nice and say, like, it's not your fault because you're young and out of position, but I have to judge what I saw and it was dreadful. Like, to be fair, he had one decent cross, so I'm going to give him a 1.5. Big up Alfie Gilchrist, our Lord and Savior. What would you give Alfie?
I actually don't remember him having even one decent cross, but you were right for most of what it's not his fault.
To be fair, he had 0 out of 1 crosses according to this year. But
yeah, I mean, I don't remember not one cross really, but yeah. I mean, it's not his fault. That is the truth. But he has been playing with this team for a little bit. So also he's 20. He's gonna be 21 by the end of this year. I mean, it's not like he's 17. I mean, Gusto is younger than him. I think also Enzo is basically, I think, a couple of days younger than him. So.
No. Enzo is older than him. Enzo is 23. Gilchrist is 20.
Oh, excuse me then. But yeah, I mean, Gilchrist will be 21 by the end of this year anyway. So it's not that he has a lot of room to make mistakes. I'm also going to give him a 1.5 just because only maybe the first goal was his fault. Everything else came from the other side of the pitch. And yeah. And he did not see a lot of the ball anyway. Like, I think I said in the beginning, we basically neutered our left and right wing. So everything we tried to do was from the center, which is where we usually suck. So it's no wonder that we got crushed, actually. But yeah,
Yeah.
1.5.
He had 48 touches, 38 passes, 34 of them completed. I mean, there is the argument to be made, obviously, for Havertz's first goal, that through ball from Odegaard that came from that side. But I mean, kind of, would you give him a 1.5? Would you maybe even give him a 2? What would you give Alfie Chris today?
I probably would have given him a 1.5 just to differentiate a bit, just to almost give him a bit of slack, just because I think it's just because of his age. And I think I do also just like just the manner of which he defends, like you said about that tackle, like that, just getting people up for it and just trying to almost like invigorate energy through the team. Didn't work, but I like that in a player, and I think he just deserves a tiny bit more leniency compared to the others, in at least the two central defenders. So yeah, I'd probably give him a 1.5. I don't think he was brilliant, but he's young, and I do like his manner as a player.
Yeah. No, and just to clarify, I also agree. I also like that about him, that he didn't just take the shit from Trossard. But all I'm saying is, if you're going to get yourself booked, hit him a bit harder than you did. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, moving over to Cucurella. Cucurella is a weird one. In the first half, mostly, I actually felt he was one of 3 players who I felt were actually trying, at least.
I agree.
For the most part, I didn't even feel like they were attempting to do anything. I mean, you could argue that he wasn't always doing it right, but he stopped Saka many times. Once he got past him, and then he all of a sudden, Cucurella turned up again and still ended up being the guy to block the shot because no one else was going to do it. But he was overall still awful. So and he got still beaten way too easily, still beaten way too many times. But he was in way more duels than all the others combined. I'm going to say that. Maybe you guys will disagree with this, and the chat will definitely disagree with this. But I'll give Cucurella 2. I think he was ever so slightly better than the other lot. That's all I'll say. But yes, Martin is 1,000% better. Also barely shorter. But apparently Martin can't play because he's too short. But Cucurella is fine, of course. But yeah, so that's his whole separate thing. Connor, what did you make of Cucurella? What rating would you give him?
I'd give him a 3. I actually think he was more so for that first half performance. If the second half didn't happen, I genuinely would have. He was up there for me as one of the better performers. I would have probably given him like a 5 just based on the first half alone. But second half, obviously, it started to overrun a little bit. And I just think he was left on an island by Mudryk. A lot of the time with Saka, he was like those 1v1s. A lot of the time he was allowing Saka to get into those positions isolated with Cucurella. And he actually dealt with them well, I think. Yeah. Even the ones where he showed him inside the box, he was pretty much always getting the block off. A few that he showed him down the byline, got the block off, or at least herded him into an area where he couldn't put the cross in and he had to go backwards. First half was happy with Cucurella. Second half, I just think the pressure became too much. Just got himself
booked like an idiot again. Like he got booked for walking away with the ball. Like why? Yeah. Like you're playing against Saka. Don't. Like why? That hurts you so much, man. Like it's. I mean, I guess it's a little bit of a sign of at least they're like fucking they care and not bothered, but. Still, man, I know we were already losing and everything was going bad and the whole situation is terrible. I know, but you got to keep your head. You can't it's so silly to get yourself booked for walking away with the ball. It wasn't even for the foul.
Yeah, that was so dumb. I mean, it's like he thought we have a full squad of fit and ready players. Let me get booked so I can gather a couple of yellow cards and miss a couple of games. I mean, why? Literally.
Hey, one positive about today, because Caicedo and Jackson didn't get booked. God knows how Jackson didn't get booked. Because they didn't. Now the 9 yellow cards are kind of cleared, and they only with 15 do they get suspended now. So amazing stuff. We have both of them to play every other game this season. Can't I wait? But yeah, Dimitar, what would you give Cucurella? Do you agree with Connor? Do you agree with me? Would you go lower?
I agree that he was probably the best out of the back 4. What I liked in the first half is he was not, because normally he rushes with the ball forward and he makes kind of silly passes because he's not a very good with the ball at his feet. Today he felt a little bit more composed, at least in the first half, and I think he played well. The duels with Saka, it was basically even all the time, but that's because Saka is in awful form and he's limping every game off. So basically, if this was a full fit Saka, I don't think we would have liked Cucurella so much and his performance, but he did well enough to get a 2 from me, which is maybe higher than what people would say, but I don't know. I can't give a 3 for sure, but I think a 2 is fine.
Absolutely. I'm right. My maths just confused me. I just can't click the right dots on my fucking calculator. There you go. Leaves him at a 2.5. We move on to the midfield, shall we? But before that, let me get to the Super J by Ricky. Shout out you, Ricky. Thank you for the donation. He says, crazy to say, but Potter does better with this team. Oh, yeah, 100%. Did you see Potter get beat 5-0? I didn't. I didn't even see fucking Frank Lampard get beat 5-0 for that. You know, I mean, he got beat 4-0, to be fair, but not 5-0. And not against Arsenal. Lampard actually won at Arsenal. Fucking Tammy Abraham. Remember that goal? Remember those times? Remember how happy we was?
Yep.
Feels like fucking 17,000 years ago, mate. Can't even fucking handle it. But yeah, I wish Potter was still here. Also, then we wouldn't have sacked one manager. Therefore, we'd be in a lot less of a stupid-looking position to sack him now and get a new one. Do you know what I mean? But
this squad is also better suited to Potter, by the way. Quite clearly.
1,000%, bro. 100%. It's not even close, is it? But yeah, we move on to Caicedo. I felt Caicedo was better today than what's his face Enzo was, but was he good? Nope. Passing accuracy 88%, sure. Ground duels 3 out of 4 is actually not even bad. Oh, Connor, can you help me? Can you please go first, because I genuinely don't know.
Again, that's probably it's around a 3 or a 4 for me. Those two midfielders today, I thought they were both poor in terms of the actual one-off game. I'll continue to say it, and I will continue to just put it out there. I do genuinely believe that they are both brilliant footballers, and I'm very happy they're both here. So as much as people will slam that and continue to slam that, I will continue to praise and shout that boat that I'm happy that they're both at the club. But today they're both poor, and I would, Caicedo today probably a 3.5. Maybe just because in terms of his duels, maybe a 4, just to differentiate him from when I give Enzo his score. But I just think he suits Pochettino more, essentially, Caicedo, same as Gallagher. You get a bit more out of them than you get an Enzo, because they are more suited to this chaos ball that is actually gonna have heavy duels. Like the other day, there was people comparing him and Rice because their numbers are comparable. That's because Caicedo's having to make twice the amount of duels as Rice, because he's in a team that plays like chaos ball and just going back and forth. So in that sense, I just think they're better suited to Poch, and it makes them look a little bit better. So yeah, long story, but 4 probably.
Fair enough. 4, honestly, maybe a little bit higher than I was thinking, but
yeah, it might be.
I'll take it. Dimitar, why don't you go next? Is a 4 too high for you? Would you maybe go along with it?
I personally think that the between the 15th minute and the 40th minute was maybe the best I've seen Caicedo play for Chelsea. And I can tell you why. It's because there were a couple of key moments where he was actually at the right place at the right time, which is normally what's my biggest criticism of him. If you remember in the middle of the first half, that position where Havertz was looking like he was going to go one-on-one with the keeper, and Caicedo just kind of jumped behind him and took the ball. And I feel like this is what I want to see from him more, when he's just at the right time, at the right place to make the right tackle. I think he also made another decent tackle at the end of the first half. He tried to make some passes forward, which was clearly the direction Poch gave, which was we were always vertical. We were always trying to get on the front foot, which is maybe the worst thing you can do against transitional masters like Arsenal, because this is where they excel normally. But yeah, I think he was fine. I think his biggest problem today was that Badiashile was behind him, because Caicedo also was always trying to go near Badiashile so Badiashile doesn't make a bad pass. But Caicedo running to him meant that there was less space for Badiashile, which made him make the bad pass, which was kind of funny because you normally don't see that, because as you said, if the midfielder goes close, then that leaves space behind him. But Badiashile was so panicked, he did not make the right pass between the lines. He just made the wrong pass in front of the lines. And yeah, I think Caicedo was fine. I'm also going to give him a 4. Today, he was probably the person with the least fault for this score, which is saying a lot because he's a CDM.
Yeah, I do agree with that last sentence in a way. I was thinking more of a 3. I gotta say 3. I'm gonna stick to my guns. So 3.5 overall for him. Then
the thing is also that the difference is very marginal. I mean, we lost 5-0, and even if it's a 3 or a 4, it's still bad.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, very important to say that. Let's move on to Enzo. And Do I want to protect him a little bit because he's playing with pain injections and has done for the God knows how many games? Yes, I do want to. But 82% passing. Okay, 3 out of 5 long was all right. 2 out of 8 ground duels. 0 out of 2 aerial duels. Mate, the way that Declan Rice turned into Prime Zidane to roll it around Enzo in that first half when Rice...
Oh, yeah. Jesus.
Sure, it's one that where Enzo doesn't do that much wrong. It just looks bad, but even still, man, like, no. Rice on his own looked like 3 times the value of our both 220 midfielders, 220 million pounds midfielders put together.
I mean, Rice is... Excuse me for interrupting, but Rice is almost always in the right place at the right time. And this is the eye test which every fan wants to see from his CDM. I mean, the pass accuracy, the duels, they're secondary. If your CDM has to be at the right time to make these clutch tackles and get these clutch balls.
The only thing is, he's not even playing CDM for them. He's playing attacking number 8. He was like on Gilchrist half the game. It's ridiculous. I don't know how Arteta has come up with this, but fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Enzo, though, honestly, I don't think it was any better than the centre back, so I'll give him a 1. Connor, what would you give him?
Yeah, it's probably just a 2. But again, like, I think with the passing and things, like, he's got so much in his locker, but I think he's been forced to almost speed everything up at too much of a pace with Pochettino. I think so many of those long balls aren't the type that you'd have seen him play at the start of the season, but Pochettino's putting such an emphasis on this vertical and like wanting to go vertical at times that it's almost forcing him to go early when he, instead of pausing on the ball and actually allowing us to sort of sustain a bit of pressure. So yeah, he wasn't good today. His passing wasn't up to scratch, and like you said earlier, he's obviously playing with pain when there's an injury, but which is also hurting him mobility wise, which he's already not got much of.
100%. I think that's exactly there on mobility and on stamina and on acceleration. That's where people need to consider a groin injury as like a fairly significant thing. Like changes of direction, like say acceleration, stopping quickly. Those are exactly the points where this is going to hurt you most. And to be honest, also the long passing, really. Like, you know,
I mean, even the short passing.
It's not exactly, but swing your foot. Where are you gonna feel that in your groin? Do you know what I mean? So if your fucking groin's injured, fucking good luck trying to play 10 long passes of 60 yards all game. But you know what? I wanted to touch on quickly one thing that you said, Connor, in terms of always trying to play vertically. You know, and clearly that's true. But I just, other than Jackson, none of the other forwards seem to know about this plan. Because I never see Mudryk, sometimes Mudryk, but even Mudryk very, very rarely. Obviously, usually Palm is the right wing, and he's not the kind of player to make runs in behind. But our wingers never make runs in behind. We have one of the fastest players, if not the fastest player in the whole world, and I've never seen him make a run deep. Like, all he ever does is stand at the halfway line and wait for the ball. All he ever does. And to be fair, today, for the first time ever, I saw Poch actually try to coach Mudryk during a game, so that was good. Not that it helped, but maybe it made him worse by whatever Poch told him. Wouldn't be surprised. But even so, at least because the wingers are next to the coach for one half, he can tell them what to do the whole game long. All game. It's not like there's atmosphere in England. They can hear him. You know, just speak. All you have to do is run now, stop now, go inside, go out. Just speak to him. That's all you have to do. It's not like he speaks to anybody else on the pitch. So
he should sneak an AirPod into his ear so he can actually tell him what to do real time.
Just get a tattoo of like an AirPod on your ear. No one will know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But kind of, did you feel that too? Don't you also find it weird? We play so vertically as a team, but our wingers don't seem to be involved in that. And in particular, Mudryk and when Palmer is the right winger.
Yeah, and again, I think this is just a classic thing of the squad not suiting the manager or the style that we're wanting to play. I think these wingers were signed to be stationary, wide, like width-hold wingers, where when they get the ball...
If they are signed to be that, surely they can just still do it differently. Like, all we're asking them to do is running.
They are fast. I mean, it's not like we signed a 30-year-old winger who can't run. We signed 21-year-olds who can run. I mean, I'm not sure that wingers can be specifically assigned to any certain system. I mean, they should be fast and they should be able to dribble well. Like, that's a winger.
Now, you see, you got a Salah type winger, a very different style winger to like someone that stays wide. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, even a winger who stays wide, you should be able to run fast and you should be able to dribble. I mean, wingers in general are the people who make take-ons the most. Let's say wingers and an attacking midfielder. But
there you go.
I mean,
let Connor quickly finish that point, and then I'll ask.
Yeah, sorry.
Enzo rating Dimitar. Sorry, go on, Connor.
No, yeah. No, I do agree. Like, in the sense of course, they should be able to play multiple ways, but like with Mudryk, I think he's not being coached enough from what we can see, because again, we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. But I agree, he's clearly got the pace to get in behind. So the fact that coaches aren't using this, to me, it tells me that Mudryk just doesn't have the tendency to do it, which again is a problem, because you should be able to teach him to do that.
Shout at him and tell him, until you start doing this, you're never starting again. Surely that will fix the problem.
Yeah, that's what's strange, because you don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but he's clearly got it in him to do that. But again, those pass maps that came out a little while ago that show he's the most creative player from that deep left side on the second half of the pitch, like in the opposition half. He's the most creative player from that area in terms of key passes in the league. And I think that just shows exactly what he, in his head, wants to do pretty much every time he has the ball. And again, that's another issue. Why you need to coach that out of him to stop him going to his preferred way of playing, but also to suit the team and stretch it at times, get him behind, use that speed. Because even if he's not getting the ball, he's taking loads of players away with him. It's like when Werner used to play, and I always used to have the argument for Werner that he was being effective, even though he wasn't touching the ball, because teams were just petrified of him. So he just took the defensive line away just by 10 yards, and it just gives people space and time. So even if they're not having their best game, they can still be useful for a team, which again, I think that's a massive flaw in the way that, and we're being coached at the minute, but we don't know whether that's a Mudryk problem or a Pochettino problem, and we won't know until we see another coach with him.
Yeah, no, that is true. I mean, we will get to Mudryk obviously a little bit later. I just want to say one quick thing on that. The other problem I have with that is, even if I give him that benefit of the doubt that you're talking about currently, Connor, which is fair enough, and he can do good things from that position, sure. But he also doesn't have the effort or the footballing IQ to help out defensively enough. Because when your winger is like that, what you'd really want is a very attacking fullback who runs past the winger. Because when the winger doesn't go forward, you would like your fullback to do so. But first of all, we have Cucurella behind him who doesn't or can't do that anyway. But let's pretend even if we had a fit and actually halfway decent form Chilwell, then Chilwell could run around Mudryk and be almost the guy that Mudryk passes to from that area, which would make sense. But Mudryk doesn't have the defensive discipline to allow that to happen in the first place. So, like, if you want to stay at this, like, not always at the last line kind of winger, which I still don't think he should be doing that. But even if he wanted to do that, even if that was the plan, then he needs to be better defensively so he can allow the fullback to attack, no? Because otherwise it just kills the left side. And that's what I feel like is our problem pretty much every game we play, that we only ever have one side that works. 95% of the time it's when Palmer plays in the right, and every now and again it happens when it's the left side, or a few games previous in the season when like Sterling was on the left, for example. But anyway, Dimitar, on Enzo, please. What rating would you give him?
I guess I'm gonna go with the 1.5. I also think he was not the problem today. I think we were generally scared, and even if he and Caicedo were better, that would not have changed a lot, I believe. So I'm gonna give him a 1.5, which is still not the worst today, shockingly enough. But yeah, he's playing with an injury. He should just go get that surgery, and he should just rest a bit this summer. I know there's a Copa America, and he will not get rest. But Jesus, this guy needs some rest for sure. He's been playing non-stop.
Now, because otherwise he'll have it after the Copa.
And then we're going to see him in November.
Exactly. Well, supposedly he's only going to miss 3 weeks if he does have the surgery. But obviously, we also thought Ugochukwu will be out for 4 weeks. That's now 3 weeks.
Yeah, but the thing is, if he has surgery after the World Cup, then after the Copa America, he will then have to have an individual preseason, which will always make the recovery longer. So let him have it now. Let him rest until the 1st of July, and then let's see if he can play for Argentina. I mean, anything else would be basically suicide.
They don't play him every game. I mean, who knows? But anyways, there you go. You leave it as a 1.5.
Yeah,
I think it's fair enough. We move up to Conor Gallagher, who I'm the least sure about today, what I thought of him. I mean, I want to highlight this quickly because obviously I hadn't seen it. But Joel earlier put like Conor Gallagher nearly in tears in his interview on TNT. Conor Gallagher was so emotional in his interview, bless him. Now, that doesn't help on the pitch. And maybe that's me being a passion merchant again, but I am a passion merchant. I fully stand by that. I'd prefer someone nearly in tears after losing 5-0 than what Mudryk did while Thiago was in tears on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, Jesus.
You know what I mean? I know what I prefer. I don't really care who's a better footballer there when we get to this point. But yeah, what will I give Gallagher? 1 out of 5 crosses, 2 out of 4 long balls, 0 out of 1 dribbles, 4 out of 12 ground duels. Fucking hell. 2, maybe. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, between Enzo and Caicedo, I think it was better or less bad, better phrase to use, than Enzo. But I think Caicedo was probably a bit more useful. But I don't know. Dimitar, what do you reckon? What would you give Gallagher?
I think a 2 is fine. I also think this was maybe one of the first games where Gallagher did not know where he should be. I believe normally he has a pretty good awareness of what he should do when he is on the pitch. And that's my opinion. People can disagree with that, but I think today he sincerely did not know where to go. He found himself on the left touchline. Then if you look 20 seconds later, we're attacking, he's on the right touchline. Then sometimes he goes and plays behind Caicedo. He gets a ball, he makes a false pass, he makes some kind of bullshit with Badiashile, and then we almost concede a goal. Like, he was trying, he was running around, but he really had absolutely no idea what to do. And I think that is as much as it is on him, and it was more on Poch maybe today, because really, I feel we lost our heads collectively, tactically, and individually. Like, everything went wrong. So I'm also gonna go with 2, because he was maybe a little bit better than Enzo, but he was still awful. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
insane.
It's a tough one, really, to judge. Like, hey, we lost 5-0. We could equally as much have given everyone a 0, and no one could have had any complaints. Like, if we're being honest, Connor, a 2 from both of us for Gallagher. Will you shift that in another direction, or what did you make of Gallagher?
No, I think that's about right too. Just again, I think the reason that he sometimes looks like good in these games, and I do think these games would usually suit him. Today, maybe not as much because they did back off, but when we're trying to play this transition football under Poch, the reason he looks good in that is because that suits him. Going end to end, he's got energy. He's always up for a duel. He gets himself stuck in, and he can create attacks, like generate extra attacks for us, basically just through his work rate. Which again, if you're in a game where you're against a better opposition, so against City at the weekend, I actually thought he was really important as to nearly getting us in that game, because the few times he did win the ball high up the pitch, it creates extra chances for us to score. Today, the second they dropped off, again, I agree. I think he looked lost.
He also played a nice through ball to, can't remember if it was Gilchrist or Madueke, that essentially led to that Jackson header, didn't it? I think that was a Gallagher ball.
Yeah.
So, I think between Enzo and Caicedo is probably fair. Again, I like Gallagher, but I just think he looks better in this system. I wouldn't necessarily want to sell him, because I do think I love his work ethic, and I just love the fact that he's obviously cares. But I do think if you're talking about the absolute end game for Chelsea, I think he is more of a squad player than he is a complete. If you're trying to shift it towards the control mentality that we spoke about earlier, where you're trying to get away from this transition type, I think he's more of a squad player than like an end game.
I think the only role in which Gallagher could be a starter is if you played him as a box-to-box 8. I think he could do that, because he first of all has the legs, he has the intensity, and he can actually, he's decent at tackling. He can score a goal every now and again. So, but using him as a pure on 10, and I know the reason is because we need him to help press with Jackson. I get that, because someone said Mudryk needs to play as 10. Yeah, he does, but he doesn't press enough, which is then that is harms us, right? That's the problem with Mudryk. Like, if he either worked hard enough defensively on the left, that will be okay, or if he made runs in behind on the left, that will be okay, or if he pressed enough when he plays the 10. There's positives everywhere he goes, but the problem is there's also negatives everywhere he goes. But yeah, that's at least that for me. Let's just move on to Mudryk. Honestly, I'll keep this short and simple. He gets a 0 from me. 14 out of 21 passes. That's 67% completion rate. 0 out of 1 dribbles. 1 out of 4 crosses. Okay, 1 out of 1 long ball. Fantastic. 0 out of 0 tackles. 0 out of 1 ground duel. 0 out of 1 aerial duel. And even when Caicedo slightly overhit the pass, he's the fastest player in the world and couldn't look at the ball and realize, shit, that's going over me. I need to run a bit. Like, the
It's
lack of
like
brain
he
power
got
was-
brain lag at that point.
Yeah, literally.
he-
It's like he got dizzy by looking up, honestly. Like, it's crazy. It's like, remember when, also against Arsenal, remember when Jorginho tried to control that ball and was saying, the floodlights blinded me? That's what it felt like when Mudryk was like looking up, where's the ball? It was like, honestly, like, people have tuned into this stream plenty of times. I have defended Mudryk a lot. Today, I'm not defending Mudryk. That was just disgraceful. Is it on any individual today? Absolutely not. And the collective being poor made each individual also look much worse. Absolutely. But he just did nothing today. That lofted cross that he attempted, honestly, I wanted to smash my TV. What are you doing? What is this lofted cross? We have Jackson in the middle. If you've got Lukaku up there, if you've got fucking Drogba up there, sure, loft your crosses. Loft it all the fuck you want. Even if you've got Mauro and Fellaini, loft it. But you've got Jackson, who's scared to head the ball. What were you doing lofting the ball into the box? Are you an idiot? Stop it. It's the same as Enzo. It's the same idiot, right? When Enzo crosses the ball, like these half field crosses that he lofts into the box, always to the left far post for some reason, even though Enzo mostly plays on the right. But that's usually when he shifts over to the right? And he lofts it to where the left winger would be, but the winger is Mudryk, who never runs there. So why are you lofting the ball there? It's like, what? Just watch the games back that you play and you see it never works, does it? Anyway, Dimitar, I assume you're not going to give him much higher? What would you give him?
I don't know, but I'm also gonna go with the 0. Really, I just don't know what to say, because he clearly has some qualities, but he does not seem to be able to develop them, and he does not seem to be able to like gather new skills. He has a very limited amount of skill points, and he has allocated them to speed, haircut, and tattoos. That's it. He cannot allocate any more skill points to passing, to thinking, to tactical analysis. It's very weird. It may be because of the manager. I don't know. It may be he gets better, but his time is running out. And I'm pretty sure that if by Christmas we haven't seen anything better from him, they will just get rid of him. Plain and simple. They will probably not tolerate him at Chelsea a lot longer if he does not show improvement.
You're forgetting where we are now. That no one wants to buy our players, bro. Like, no one's going to buy our players.
Will that stop us in any capacity? I mean,
no.
They will just loan him out to Strasbourg, for example. I don't know. I mean, they will loan him out to Strasbourg, like,
true.
Or the club we bought.
They might do that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's true. Just super quickly, by the way, let me highlight this comment here from Dharmesh. Shout out you, Dharmesh, but also get in the bin. What do you mean? Oh, I highlighted the wrong comment. My bad. Looks in there. You wanted to bring Lukaku back. Get in the bin. Place yourself there. Go to sleep. No.
I also want to bring him back.
Nah, you can also get in the bin. At least you're already wearing yellow. Fucking hell. No, not bringing Lukaku back. Fuck that ticket. We already got Clearlake who hates us. I don't want a striker who hates us as well, man. I mean,
by the way these players play, I'm not sure that they like Chelsea a lot. I mean, come on.
No, probably not. But, Lukaku might score an own goal. I wouldn't put it past him on purpose. Connor, on Mudryk, though, we've given out zeros. I know you really don't like zeros, but did he do enough to get one, or is he also getting a 1?
Yeah, he's getting a 1. I think you can basically tell from the way we rate them.
You to give someone a 0. You did actually give it to Jackson in the last one, or who was it?
No, definitely not Jackson. I think I may have agreed and allowed the Badia Shield 0 against Man U, even though we won.
Maybe. But were you on for Man U? Sure. Yeah, you was. I can't remember. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, neither can I. But the thing is, the way I do ratings anyway is like a 1 is basically a 0. So, like, from me, it's just my way of I don't really want to give a 0.
It almost goes like from 1 to 10 rather than from 0.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But again, like, not good enough today. There's just little sparks. I remember there was a point at the start of the game. He did that. I think he got away from the byline and then he did a little nutmeg inside. And I was thinking, okay, Mudryk looks up for it today. Yeah. But then again,
and that was the only thing he did all game.
Yeah, literally, it just fades from the game. Defensively, I said this a few weeks ago. He's not aware enough. He let Wan-Bissaka go loads against United, and then today he did the exact same thing with Ben White, and he left Cucurella on an island. That is why Gallagher plays left mid, by the way, for everybody that wonders. That is the reason, because Mudryk doesn't do that. Sterling doesn't do that. Madueke, at least at points this season, has been taught and he sort of had that spell on the sideline. And then when he came back from that spell on the sideline, he sort of showed a little bit in terms of being able to double up and get back defensively at times when needed.
I don't think he did today either, I'll be honest.
No, not today he didn't, I agree. But I think like he had shown bursts of doing it, which is why he then started.
But I think there's been games where Mudryk has done it. Like I've seen Mudryk sprint into the box, like defend, block crosses, do all sorts of silly things. Like that I'm like, it shouldn't be Mudryk having to do this. But it's just so inconsistent with him. Like so often he's just stood there and just someone just runs past him and he's just like, okay, bye. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It's like, why aren't you doing something? Like it honestly feels like he's so overtrained that as soon as he runs too much and moves too quickly, he's going to pull a hammy. Like that's what I keep always saying. I also still don't think we've ever seen him go full sprint because I'm like, these muscles, I don't know. Like that's why Chelsea have told him to train a bit less, but hasn't exactly gotten better, has it? But anyway, move on from Mudryk. The less said about him today, the better. Move on to Madueke. I gave Mudryk a 0. I'll give Madueke for the cross to Jackson, I'll give him a 1. That's it. Because he also didn't help Gilchrist. Now you could argue Gilchrist is a centre-back, so he needs a little less help, but also he needs more help because he has even less experience of defending the wide areas. But at least compared to Mudryk's 67% passing accuracy, Madueke had 96%, which, sure, doesn't help us either, but still, it's at least 25 or 26. There was this one ridiculous moment where he nearly got fouled, then he kept the ball, and then instead of just passing it on, he kept trying to go past the guy again and lost it. And I'm like, mate, what are you doing? But yeah, 2 out of 4 ground duels at least, but 1 out of 1 dribble, all right. 0 out of 1 crosses, but no, unless it wasn't him that crossed it to Jackson, it was clearly a successful cross.
No, it was him, but I think because it was a handball that they...
But did the referee give a handball?
Yeah, they gave a handball, yeah.
Okay, then fair enough. But yeah, at least he took Tomiyasu on, but obviously, like Dimitar said much earlier in the stream, he can't cross with his right foot, not really anyway. Not okay, that one to Jackson was with his right foot, to be fair. But on average, if he tries 10 crosses with his right foot, 2 of them are going to, one of them is going to be good, 1 of them is going to be decent, and 8 of them are going to be awful. Which is obviously it's a very common left-footed problem, but unfortunately with him, because he's so direct and he's like, I'm going to take you on no matter what. If you're not letting me inside, I'm going to have to go outside. I'm going to have to cross. If that's how you play, then you need to have better crossing on your weak foot. It's just as simple as that for me. Yeah, I'm going to give him that 1, but it's not much in it for me. Connor, I assume you gave Mudryk a 1. Do you then give Madueke a 1.5, a 2? He was ever so slightly better, or did he do enough to get more for you?
Yeah, I probably would have given him a 2, 1.5, 2. Like I'll say 2. Just because I think he also could have had maybe, I think somebody just said it in the chat as well, he could have actually had a second assist as well at the end with that one where Jackson chose to go near post.
Oh, yeah.
Pass as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think sometimes just from him being direct, again, sometimes it looks like it's not actually under control, but just from him sometimes getting his head down and being direct, it does create something out of nothing. So I do want to give him a little bit.
It does, but it depends on the game whether that's useful. The problem is also because he wins a lot of corners, right? Because he takes them on, and then very often the defender just about manages to block the cross, and then you get a corner out of it. But the problem is we're so bad at set pieces that even that doesn't really help. We're more likely to concede from our own corner than we are to score. So you're like, is it even a benefit? I'd rather he cut inside and try to shoot than go down the line and try to cross, because even if we get a corner, it's not going to do anything. And even if the cross comes to anyone, no one's going to put it in. So might as well just force it on your left and shoot. Maybe I'd prefer that. But Dimitar, a 1 and a 2 so far for Madueke. What would you give him?
I'm going to go with a 2 as well. I think he was basically our most dangerous attacker after Jackson. He tried to do some stuff. He tried to take people on. Like we said, he is direct, and I think he's not only direct, his directness starts maybe 25 yards further up the pitch than Mudryk. And this is very key, because if Mudryk could simply walk 10 yards, 15 yards further up the pitch and then start running, he would be 10 times better. Yeah. And Noni kind of knows that, so he always starts at a very, very, very high up position, which helps him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's kind of gotten that, and he's kind of improving very slowly, but he's still nowhere near good enough, sadly. So too, yeah.
Honestly, like it's still. I sometimes think back to it, and I'm like, 17-year-old Callum Hudson-Odoi was miles better than Mudryk and Madueke combined.
Yeah,
like when Hudson-Odoi first turned up and Sarri played him in the Europa League, he was so much better than these lot are. It's crazy. And now we sold him for what, 2 million to Forest?
1.5, I believe.
Than both Mudryk and Mudryk combined. Fucking amazing. Not that I'm saying I wish we kept Hudson-Odoi, but it's just, those are the kind of talents that we had. Nowadays, we'd be selling them for pure profit. So can't believe in anything anymore anyway. Let's get to Nicholas Jackson. You boys are fine to agree with this, and I even disagree with this, sorry. And I even agree with you, Dimon, that he was, in a way, still the most dangerous player. But purely for the idiocy of that, what should clearly have been a red card, and the 2 misses, you're getting a 0. You were too scared to head the ball, so you handled it. Brilliant. Then you were on 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper with a completely wide open far corner. You don't shoot. You put it wide off the other corner, which I don't understand. And also, you should have been sent off after 10 minutes. Like, what an idiot. And, obviously it was unintentional. Obviously it didn't stamp on his ankle on purpose. But, boy, I don't understand how Tomiyasu kept playing, if I'm being honest. Like, that ankle...
yeah. It was very, very tough, yeah.
Yeah, and so for him to not even get, he didn't even get booked.
that was not even a foul. I mean,
yeah,
play just went on.
What? It's just... It's genuinely unbelievable. And yeah, I understand if people, in terms of genuine play, maybe you can say he gets a 1 or a 2 or whatever. But for the 2 misses and the foul, nah, sorry. And sure, he was left on his own a lot today because we couldn't do anything and we just tried to pump the ball along. And he had that nice run down the left-hand side where he then tried to cut it in and Gabriel kind of deflected it onto their own post, which could have been a goal. But so he still had the most good moments, but he also had the most bad moments alongside Bukayko,
yeah.
Unfortunately. So 0 does feel high. Fair enough. Give it up because Connor might... I'm intrigued whether Connor, the red card situation and the 2 misses, whether that's enough for Connor to say 0 or 0.5, maybe. We'll see. So I'll let you go first, Dimitar. Did he do enough outside of the bad situations to get more than a 0? Or
I mean, I think, yeah. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go for a 3.5. And that is because Jackson, for me, is a type of player I like. What I don't like is that he is also completely brain dead. And he is obviously not going to be a player for the big moments, but that's fine. I think we need a player like Jackson. He can play as a left winger. He can play as a striker. He can offer something different if we buy a better striker. I think he has a future at Chelsea. What infuriates me is the way he almost he doesn't want to improve the only thing we want him to improve, which is finishing. Everything else, I think he's gotten better. If you compare him to the beginning of the season, he's improved his runs. He can pick up the ball deep. He can run with the ball. He can dribble, kind of. He tries to cross. He goes to the empty space on the right. He goes to the empty space on the left. I mean, I like how he plays, but he should improve that finishing. It's criminal. I think we should be able to make a compilation of at least 15, 20 times where he was 1v1 with a keeper and did nothing, where he could not head a ball, where he misplaced an extremely silly pass in the box or something like that. It's these details which are absolutely infuriating and which make him a banter player, even though he's actually not that bad, I believe. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he has 10 goals and 4 assists, which is not bad for a 22-year-old who came from La Liga with 1 season of professional football in his career in Europe. I mean, it's not bad.
But just to quickly clarify my point, I'm only giving him a 0 for today. I agree with you.
Oh yeah, I know. The thing is, the red card incident, I also completely agree. It was idiotic, but he got away with it. So, I mean, that's part of the game. Sadly, nowadays
for VAR's incapabilities, though.
Yeah, that is true. But the thing is, I really hope that we get another striker and we can maybe see them play together, or we can see one as an alternative for the other. Because I do feel a player like Jackson could have a future at Chelsea. Because he's talented.
100%. He does and should do. Absolutely. I'm a bit confused by Gerard Sullivan here. If we are not monsters, we're food. All right, mate. Is that a Monsters Inc. reference? Is it something else?
No.
I don't know.
Excuse me, can I change my rating 2.5 because of the horrendous haircut? 2.5 because of the haircut. Sorry.
No,
I forgot about that.
I think the haircut is probably the best thing about him today. No, but I hear you.
No,
I mean,
seriously.
Sammy says do a
These
poll, but do a
Pogba
poll
haircuts
between
have
what?
to stop.
Yeah, no, it's true.
These
But
Pogba
Sammy says do a
haircuts
poll.
have to stop.
Yeah, I agree. It's like Pogba. Just while you're 10,
Literally. I mean,
don't do haircuts. Just like have a
Yeah.
simple haircut. Once we're top of the league, you can do a fancy haircut. All right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? A Top Boy reference. All right. Sorry. Not watched enough of it. I've only watched a couple of episodes. Anyway, Sammy says do a poll, but a poll between what? You're all going to say 0 anyway. So if I give you the option of minus anything, you're going to choose that. Connor, what would you give Jackson? I thought he's at least in the body of shield realm today, but Dimitar pushed it up to 2.5 from his side. What would you give him?
Yeah, when he said 3.5, I thought I was going to come away with the middle ground, but I was going to say 2.5 as well. So a lot higher than what you were saying.
Yeah.
I agree though. Obviously, if you're going on incidences with the red card, that should have been a red. It was poor challenge. The header again, like the header and the miss where he went for the near post is, for me, the big thing with him is obviously he's just not clinical enough, and we all know this. And that, for me, as an actual player, I genuinely think he's very good. I actually think he's got so much about his game that really helps us. But it is just that final touch and that final ball at times as well, even when he's sometimes a little bit slow to get out his feet and do the right thing with it, decision making wise. But I think
He also that he doesn't have a left foot really triggers me. Like that against City. Like, just shoot with your left, but he doesn't trust his left. But then why do you keep cutting on your left?
Yeah. No, yeah. But you also got to think as well, he did he basically, there was one point in the first half, sorry, where he just ran pretty much the entire length of the pitch and almost forged something out of nothing, which is, again, something I like about him. I think he's just got that
Me too, yeah.
essence about him where he can make something happen.
Yeah.
But I do think you desperately need another striker, a more clinical box dominant striker, to take the burden of being the massive goal scorer off of Jackson, and then hope that in time that he can develop this, because I do think every other part of his game I love.
But guys, just something, we'll keep saying striker. What we actually need is a goal scorer. I mean, I don't mind if we sign a right winger who can score 20 goals. We just need a goal scorer, actually.
Palmer, bro.
Yeah. But I mean, we just need a goal scorer, and we need Jackson to play next to the goal scorer. That would be, I think, very dangerous.
Yes.
But yeah, go on, Connor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Want to say any more, Connor? Go on.
I was just, basically, like with the goal scorer thing, I think you've already, like you said, Palmer. I think he's genuinely, we've actually finally got an output monster in attack in terms of scoring from different areas of the pitch and actually just being able to contribute goals and assists. I think the main thing that I want next to him up there, or either next to him or in rotation with him, is just that box presence that can almost just force teams back. Because like I said about the pinning teams back earlier, I think we don't allow ourselves enough space in the middle of the pitch because we don't push teams further back. And I think having a more brute type striker, again, like I'm going to say like Lukaku, I don't want him back at all. Like I can't even, like, no, I'm not even entertaining it.
But you also want Osimhen, who I'm also not sure about.
I do want Osimhen. I'm doing a massive video about it tomorrow because he's my absolute number one choice.
Check that out, guys. Link is down in the description, by the way.
Yes, but yeah, I like Jackson. I think he's definitely got a massive future at the club. I just think you're definitely going to get moments like this with him where against City he could have won us the game. Instead, you could arguably lost us the game. And then today he could have got us at least back in the game at the right time with a 1-1 with that header. And again, he didn't. So big moments sometimes cost us with a player like him. But as a footballer, I do like him.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I agree with that. But I also have to agree with like Fantasy PJ. It's those two misses. I mean, I'm not sure if I necessarily say they're the two worst misses I've ever seen, but they're two really bad. Like the second goal, the second chance, the goal on the far post is essentially open. The way he receives the ball, all he has to do is strike it. And the far post, like, there's no way Raya can do anything about it. All he has to do, not even hit it hard, just get it into the far post, far corner. That's all you have to do. And he waits and puts it, it's not even like he hit Raya. He put it wide into the side net and on the other side. And like, I get what you're saying. And he's like, I understand the logic of like, if you only look at the moments, he was terrible, but there was other positive ones, other situations. Absolutely. But man, and obviously, even if he gets that 1-0, we probably still lose. And if he gets sent off, maybe that even is arguably better for us. But Not because it would have been so much better to not have Jackson, but I think it would have just changed the game that we would have accepted, okay, all we're here to do is park the bus, and Arsenal wouldn't have tried to hand us the ball, maybe. So only from that perspective. But yeah, for me, I have to stick with what I said. So a 1.5, it shall be for him. I mean, I haven't even looked at the stats, honestly. Passing, 77%. Dribbles, 2 out of 3. Long balls, 1 out of 1, whenever you would have played that. Ground duels actually decent, 7 out of 12. Aerial duels, 2 out of 0 again. Why? We had so many long balls, I felt. Anyway, we get to the subs. Who came on? Chalobah, Thiago Silva,
Sterling,
Trossard, and Sterling. Yeah, exactly. So first, Chalobah and Sterling came on. Chalobah for Enzo and Sterling for Mudryk. At least that one made sense. Not that I actually noticed Sterling on a single occasion, I'll be honest. Alvin Gilchrist was replaced by Thiago Silva. Again, utterly disgraceful from you, Mr. Pochettino, to bring on Thiago Silva at 5-0 down. Like, it's genuine disgrace. What a disrespect to the man. And then Trossard. And again, Carnage Chukwuemeka. Where's he? No one knows. Honestly, it was 4-0 by the time any of these came on. So I would feel harsh giving any of them a rating. So I'm not even going to say anything about any of them. All I'll say is when Chalobah came on, we switched to a back 5 to see out the result, and we still conceded 1 more from their right back. So that's great. But yeah, we'll just finish it off by going to Mr. Pochettino, because I think that's where we do need to finish it off, because unless any of you have anything to say, not on the subs made, but on the players that came on as subs, please do, obviously. Otherwise, I'll get to Poch, and I'll make it quick. No, you know what? He actually does deserve. He actually does deserve an emoji today. But just imagine it's a 0. But how can you get it this wrong? Why are you changing the centre-back too? After they were good they won 6-0 against Everton, the Chalobah and Thiago Silva, and they had a good game against Man City. Sure, if you want to get Thiago Silva, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's nearly 40. But still, he played. The Everton game was a week before the City game. Was Monday night before the Saturday game. You cannot tell me that he needed rest. Like, why? I mean, to be honest, maybe he did because, Garçon training in Garçon sessions in training, right? So, maybe he killed them in training. Wouldn't be surprised. But they shouldn't need rest. So that's a howler in the first place. Honestly, playing Enzo today, the kind of game that was going to be with his injury, that was a howler as well. But and playing Mudryk and Mudryk, I can't say playing Mudryk in the first place was a mistake, because I would have done the same. But why did we? How? I mean, I criticized Sterling playing so much weeks ago, and I stand by that criticism. But I don't understand how we go from playing and starting every game to never starting. I just find it confusing. Like, is it just because we're not going to sell him? But reports don't say that we want to sell him. So I just don't see the logic. Like, when you miss Palmer, when you lost Palmer, I feel like you need to bring Sterling in for me. Like, you just have to, and he didn't. And then the subs, way too late. Honestly, he should have made a sub at halftime, because the first half was a disgrace. Badiashile was a disgrace. Gilchrist was booked, so he arguably should have come on at that point already for Chalobah, who was on the bench anyway. And honestly, the whole midfield situation, Enzo clearly wasn't right in the first half. You should have changed that as well. At least 1, maybe 2 subs should have happened at halftime. None of that happened. Then we go 2-0 down after 52 minutes. Still nothing happens. We go 3-0 down after 57 minutes, and still nothing happens. And then we go 4-0 down after 65 minutes. So another whole 8 minutes after the 3-0. 8 minutes, he didn't do anything at 3-0. And only then, all of a sudden, double substitution. To be fair, that double substitution happened straight after. So that was probably coming and they were warming up. But even still, it should be happening earlier. So he should be sacked. I said he should be sacked in December. I've stood by that until today. Until this afternoon, I had come to the acceptance that he will stay, and that I've even told myself almost that with the managerial options available, maybe it's even a better choice to keep him. But after tonight, he just cannot. I mean, I think we all know that he won't be sacked mid-season anymore, and if anything, it will be at the end of the season. But it can't continue. You can't lose 5-0 to Arsenal. The only positive is, at least it wasn't our manager's 1000th game. So we still got that over Arsenal. But yeah, you know what? I'll mix it up a little bit. Connor, I'll bring you in first. Obviously, I went to poo emoji. You can give your rating as well. Obviously, please do if you have a rating. But tell me of the things that you felt Pochettino did wrong today. And where do you stand on after today? Does that, because I think you were probably like me and like most of us had come to the acceptance, okay, he's going to end up staying. But does tonight change that for you? That not even whether you think it will, but whether you've even changed your own acceptance. You're like, nah, you can't do it with him again.
Firstly, I think the main things he got wrong tonight were the actual in-game adjustments. I think at the start of the game, I think Silva not starting, I think on another occasion, a lot of people would actually allow that to happen and they would understand where that is coming from, because he is obviously getting on and he's obviously just coming off the back of a very intense game. It's the Chalobah one that I was actually more disappointed with, because I think he could have played. But again, we don't know that situation. So the Silva not starting, I'm not overly disappointed with. It's more so Chalobah. The rest of the team I was actually okay with. It was just, like I said, that Chalobah decision instead of Badiashile really for me. But then in the game, I think the second, it's just that lack of ability to change the game plan once we were 1-0 down, and once Arsenal had backed off, we knew that they were going to back off us. And like I said earlier, the defenders were going to be the ones that had to make the defence splitting pass, because they were allowing them to have the ball and they were just backing off. At half time, you should have brought on carriers of the ball. Like you said, where's Chukwuemeka? I actually think Sterling at half time probably would have been the right decision, because he's better at carrying and coming and getting the ball deeper and actually driving the team forward. So I think those sorts of players would have been useful at half time. I think that's where he went very wrong. And again, like today, I think I genuinely would have actually given him a 0. So surprisingly, but even I would have given him the 0, just because I think you can't go 1-0 down and then see what Arsenal do and then not be proactive and not be, at least have a second plan. Like I said, everything was vertical. It just didn't change. And we was trying to go vertical into a block of 10, basically, even when they were just backing off us. So it just was never going to work. And he needs to be more adaptable. In terms of what my thing for the future with Poch, as you said, I just think I'm still in the same boat that I've been in the whole time. I never thought he was the manager. Like I said, like right at the beginning, I just don't think this team's being built for him, whether he's here or not. I think if you can go and get a manager that you're going to stick with, so for me, that's like a De Zerbi or an Amorim. You go and you get them now, and then you build towards them, full stop. If you can't do that, then I'm still of the opinion that you could probably just stick with Poch for a year, as bad as that is, and that is almost accepting that you're not going to do anything next season of note. But you're almost having it as Poch is going to take the downfall and he's going to take the brunt of the players whilst things are put into place for the next manager a year on. So like I said, like that's obviously not ideal and that's obviously bad for the fans, but I think you either go, like I said,
and that's my only, because you've said there, bad for the fans. Because my worry with that is if you had like a stable team, a team with like, grown men, I think that is a viable option. What you're saying now, I felt at the time when we had the transfer ban, we shouldn't have let Sarri go. We should have just kept Sarri through the transfer ban. Obviously, in the end, that was actually okay with Frank, but we now sold all of those academy players that we brought through, and that gave us such a great season at the time. But the problem with that now is if these players never, like, if they get another season without building any real positive connection with the fans, like, you see it in games like today that they don't, like, I mean, Poch said it, that we don't have the capability to resist. I mean, let me bring up the quotes here quickly. Actually, it's not. Well, what did he say it here? Oh, yeah. The team showed a lack of capacity to resist. That's what the problem is. Obviously, we highlighted it earlier already. But that capacity to resist, that to me is that comes from how much you care about where you are. Maybe people disagree with that. But I genuinely believe that capacity to resist increases if you care more. I know people don't care, and people say, sell all the Cobham players, they're all shit anyway, and let's buy every talent we can find, and, pay 17 trillion more pounds for more players, because amazing. But for me, this exactly, because first of all, it's right, but second of all, we weren't going to win it anymore. But the fact that once we conceded that 2-0, we collapsed like this, to me, that doesn't happen when you have more people that care. And that can only be created once a positive relationship is created between the players and the club and the team and the fans, sorry. So, and that's my worry if you give Poch another season. Do you see where I'm coming from with that, Connor? Or do you think that's taking football from too much of an emotional side?
No, I do definitely. I think there's hindrances to it, but I think there's also the fact that at some point somebody's gonna have to take the fall. So I think if you bring in another manager, the likelihood is the team still won't be ready next season. So whoever then does come in will probably take the brunt of it, and then it'll end up being a repeated process where we end up getting rid of them again because the fans get on the back again. Not even out of the fans deserve to get on the back because it's not, the standard isn't good enough. So it's not even like I'm saying the fans shouldn't be doing it, but I think the safest thing to do if you're not sure about a manager this summer is to keep
how can you be sure you'll be more sure about the manager next summer?
Again, that's where it comes to an issue. I do agree, because and that's where we need to know the thinking of who's behind the scenes, and again where they've made mistakes in the past, because where is their thinking? Do they want a De Zerbi type where they want to actually build towards that exact brand of football? Do they want somebody with a personality who they're just going to give the reins to? Or do they, we don't know what they're perceived in their heads. Like I say, from the outside looking in, I think they're trying to build a control, technical-based team that is more sustainable long term. So like an Arsenal and a City, that mould now, rather than a Liverpool who are a bit more unsustainable, but they still end up there because of their quality and their numbers, and obviously the Klopp factor and that personality that he brings. So I think they're trying to build more towards that City Arsenal model. But again, that's an outside perspective. We don't know enough about it. So I just think this next appointment after Poch, I've said it the whole time, I think it really says a lot to me. I think it will really change my view on the whole thing, on whether I'm confident or I'm completely in turmoil about how the club's going to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll get to another tweet from Pice in a second, but first, Dimitri, I want to let you speak, obviously, with the emoji or rating, whatever it shall be. But what are the things that you felt Poch got wrong today? And obviously, you said it at the beginning, but where do you stand also on after now what Connor said in terms of the managerial situation? Where do you stand on that?
Well, first I'm going to say, I think today he deserved the 0, and he basically did everything wrong. Then on the managerial situation, I completely disagree. I understand his logic, but I think it's just not the right one, because it doesn't matter if we keep Poch, it doesn't matter if we get Guardiola, De Zerbi, or Amorim. The squad right now is not built for any certain style. The squad right now is built, we got the best in quotation marks, young talent we could get. If they could have gotten also Declan Rice, I have no doubt they would have bought Declan Rice on top of everything else we have bought already, and then left it to the manager to figure out how he could fit them in. I don't think there is a plan, and I am sure there is no plan, because developing players does not work by bringing 11 players of the same age bracket, basically, and forcing them to play every single week together. This is not how you develop a player. You develop a player by having experienced players next to them, because learning is not only on the training pitch. Learning is not only what the manager tells you. Learning is seeing what others do, because John Terry did not learn to be a captain from Jose Mourinho or Claudio Ranieri. He learned to be a captain because he saw what Dennis Wise did. He saw what Ruud Gullit did. He saw what Marcel Desailly did. Yeah. He saw with his eyes what other people do, and he took from that what he thought was the best, for example.
That's why it's so unbelievable to me that we're even that we're letting Thiago Silva go. It blows my mind that they still haven't fathomed.
They don't understand it, and that's why I said in our group chat, and I think I said here before, we need to buy some experienced players. We need to buy a 29, 27-year-old striker. We need to buy a 27, 28-year-old midfielder. People who are not fancy, people who are not super technical, people who are not on the cover of magazines. We just need to buy hardworking players who know what to do. We need to buy hardworking players who know what you have to do when you can see 2 goals in the space of 3 minutes away to Arsenal. Because today we had no players like that. No one knew what to do. I mean, they did not know what to do from the first minute, but especially when we were 3-0 down, they just lost their heads. And I'm sorry, but really, if the transfer policy doesn't change and if the medical department does not improve, I don't know how we can ever get any better. And I think I said it to you a couple of weeks ago. The manager for me is probably the least of our worries, because the manager can be changed very easily, but the players cannot. The mentality of the players cannot be changed in a day. And the growth, the process of how we train these players, how we make a cohesive squad, how we make the fans like the players, how we make the players like the fans, this you cannot change. And this is what we lack now. There is so much with this club which is going wrong. And it kind of really, for me, doesn't matter who the manager is. They can appoint me as manager next season. It's not going to matter if I have the choice of a 23-year-old midfielder, 22-year-old midfielder, and 21-year-old midfielder who combined have less than 100 Premier League games between them. I mean, sorry, but this is not how you win games. This is not how you win any kind of games. And we saw that we got outplayed by 2 or 3 championship sides this season. And this is not all down to the manager, because I can guarantee you can bring back Lampard, Essien, and Makelele now, and they will not get outplayed at 45 by Luton. I mean, Ross Barkley, Tahith Chong, and the other guy, which was at Arsenal, they completely outplayed us in December or January. And you can say that's on Poch, you can say that's on someone else, but we get outplayed every single game. We can't consistently score the chances we create, and we can defend. And this will not change, sadly. So I kind of got off on a tangent, but yeah, it's very depressing. I just hope that the recruitment gets better. That's my only hope. I don't care who the manager is. They can sack Poch, they can bring in Mourinho, they can bring back Tuchel, they can make Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the manager. I don't care. They just need to make better recruitment. Because if we buy another 21-year-old for 100 million, this is going to be effectively over for us, even before the season has started. I can promise you that.
And I don't disagree. The only point where I slightly do disagree that the manager is the least of our problems, even if I agree with that point, I do think that a different manager can change what the problems are, or can adapt to certain problems better than other managers can. So it's just like some players can adapt better to bad situations.
That may be the case
than other players can. That's the and once you get a manager that gets, first of all, doesn't have a Spurs past, that will help, but also gets a bit of a, where you see something, where you see a structure, where you see a plan, not only a plan that, because there is, to some extent, there is a plan with Poch, it's just the plan that we do see most of us don't like. But when you see a plan that you can get on board with, or that fans mostly get on board with, then, and that turns, you start winning a little bit. Not with trophies, but, get 5th, 6th, I'm not even contemplating getting top 4 next season. Let's be realistic, right? But then that manager is also in a better position to help guide the club. But a manager that the fans don't like is never going to get the power. Like, I don't think anyone will really get the power to direct, to steer the club in a better direction. But I think a manager that's not liked by the fans will never do so. Because we don't like what the owners do, but we don't like what the manager does either. So whether we even if we gave Poch the authority in the summer, it would just give us more ammunition, I guess, to blame Poch. But in reality, it wouldn't really help the situation, because the fans would be equally as annoyed with that as they are with the players that he'll probably sign bloody Sissoko. Do you know what I mean? Like, Poch will probably turn out with
no, but the thing is, I can bet my house that if the medical department improves and if we sign just like normal experienced players, we will be better next season. The question is, can we be so much better than the fans start liking the manager, whoever he is, and can we be so much better that we can say, okay, the right decisions were made? Because even if we get Amorim, we get whoever it is, De Zerbi, and even if we finish 5th next year, this could be the ceiling with that next manager, because improvement on a year-to-year basis is not guaranteed. Like we saw with Man United last year. Ten Hag made some certain improvements. He won them a trophy. He got them to 2 finals, and then they completely collapsed this year because he could not further his plans. And that is maybe down to him. That is maybe down to the players. But the overall strategy needs to improve. The recruitment needs to improve. The medical department needs to improve, because only then, with these factors, can we see steady progress. Because if players start not getting injured, then for sure we will be better regardless of the manager. If we start signing more sensible players, we will again be better regardless of the manager. And the manager should be there to take that improvement to the next level. But if everything else...
Except that I think Poch plays a part in the injuries. And I think a different manager will have slightly less injuries. Now, like I say...
That may be true. That may be true.
That inadvertently getting rid of Poch and having a manager that gets less players injured, that automatically itself makes us better.
That may be true.
Obviously, there's a case to be made that maybe next season Poch won't cause this many injuries, because we'll actually get a few benefits from the physically tough training that we do, and eventually that will actually lead to better sustained fitness. But the problem is the large majority of the squad have just been permanently injured anyway, so they can't even have reaped those rewards from Poch's tough training, because they didn't even do most of it because they were injured most of the season. So, but yeah, we went off on one a little bit there. Anything else you want to add on the Poch situation, or shall we just leave it there, mate?
I think...
Sorry that I'm putting the gun to your head now. I was like, do we end it, or do you want to speak?
No, I think you've touched on quite a few. Like, obviously, you went on that tangent, but I think a lot of that is justified. And I think whether I agree or disagree with everything that was said, I think the key points of obviously not having enough experience in the side and it's hurting us now, absolutely correct. I think, does the manager change everything? No, not at all. But do I think we've assembled a group that is actually talented long term? I do. I know some people don't. I do. But I think that I think the manager, like you said, won't change everything, but I think it's one step. And I think the only other thing I really was thinking about when we was talking about experience is adding experience now. Of course, if you go and add a couple of players here and there, yes, it will improve things very quickly. Like, so obviously, if you can go and get, I don't know, like an experienced defender, I think if you're going to get rid of Silva is an absolute must, or at least right up there on the list. But with that experience, just these players having played a full season together, as much as they're young, they are also then gaining their own experience. It's coming at a slower rate, which is why I don't agree with the initial plan. But
the only thing I'll ask to that is, it's now April 23rd this game took place. Why is it, what makes you think it's going to be so drastically better on August 12th compared to April 23rd? Like, compared to last August, I agree with you. But why is it going to be so much better now in August? Do you know what I mean?
And the answer is it won't. And that is,
exactly.
Again.
And you see where that got us. Like, I don't want to lose 5-0 in August again.
But this is where it comes to the point for me where maybe I'm just more patient than... So, like, and again, I'm not saying that makes me correct, because I completely understand.
And I hear the patience, and there are managers, like, I was more patient than most under Potter, but I was never going to be patient with Poch. And that's the position that they put themselves in by giving us a Spurs legend as a manager. Chelsea fans are going to be less patient with the Spurs legend than they are with some other.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that's another thing for me as well, is I genuinely think, like I said earlier, we'd be in a 10 times better spot right now if we'd have just stuck with Potter and just let him and just gone through that rut, but we didn't. And then we ended up in a worse position for it. So again, I think the next move is very telling, and I think it's just one of those things where my opinion could drastically change come the summer. But for now, like, there's parts of it that I like, and there's a lot of parts that I, of course, dislike and agree with you on. But I think just coming from a few different perspectives is where I'm trying to see where the future plan could.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, just to finish it all up, what I'm saying generally is patience is great. I don't mind any of these players. I believe some of them can be great. I believe some of them won't be. I don't know who. What I'm saying in general is we just need some kind of new players who have played in the Premier League before and who know what it means to win games, who know what it means to fight. and I think I gave this example in our group chat, that like we should get Ivan Toney and maybe Paulinho from Fulham. Those two players, I think, will be perfect additions to the squad. They're not superstars. They will not cause problems behind the scenes, unless Tony starts gambling again, but that's another story. I mean, we will have some people with Premier League experience who will not mind being on the bench now and again, and who will not demand 300,000 per week wages. This is all I want, because if we go and sign Osimhen for 150 million, we have to pay him monster wages. Then if we go and sign some other overrated 21-year-old midfielder, we're going to have to pay him again monster wages, which makes no sense. I mean, just sign hard-working, sensible players. This is all I want.
Will Toney and Paulinho have enough experience at winning that they help us with that part of it?
Well, I mean, Ivan Toney has been in the mid-table battle his entire life, so he has enough experience. I mean, he's been 10th with Brentford 3 years in a row, so what more experience do you want? I mean...
Yeah, that's fair. If we want to keep being 10th, I agree. But yeah, I just wanted to leave it on this little picture by this little kid. I don't want your shirt. I want you to want to fight for hours. That's all I can leave it on. And again, that's not about winning and losing. That's about not losing 5-0, you know? And I can blame Poch all I want, and Poch should have done something when the second goal went in, when the third goal went in, sure. But that doesn't take the players that were on the pitch out of the responsibility, because they still let that 5-0 happen. I don't care what Poch does. I don't care if Arsenal give you the ball or not. You realize, fuck, we're 2 or 3-0 down here. We ain't winning this. Make sure you don't get humiliated. Instead, they let themselves get humiliated. And now we sit here. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for sticking around. Please do check out Connor's channel. Link is down in the description. As always, check out that big video on Victor Osimhen. That should be coming out tomorrow. Subscribe if you haven't already. That would be massively appreciated. Hit that like button on your way out. That would be fantastic as well. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, downwards and backwards. See you next time.